Chapter 1051. Seeing that Hui Yun's figure was getting further and further away, Lu Changtian knew that he would not be able to stop her. However, when he thought of the dangers on the road and the dangers of entering the Divine Valley, with Hui Yun's current cultivation, not to mention entering the Divine Valley to find Lin Rui, even entering the very beginning of the Divine Valley would be a problem for her. Helplessly, since Hui Yun had made her decision, as Lin Rui's disciple, he naturally could not sit by and do nothing. After making up his mind, his figure flashed as he rushed in the direction Hui Yun left. Lu Changtian was extremely fast. In a breath's time, he arrived in front of Hui Yun and reached out to stop her. "Grand Mistress, please wait. You want to stop me?" Seeing Lu Changtian in front of her, she frowned and snorted coldly. Hui Yun knew that she was no match for Lu Changtian. However, when she thought of the danger her son was in, she could not care less. No. That's not it." Realizing that Hui Yun had misunderstood his intentions, Lu Changtian was startled. Cold sweat flowed down his back uncontrollably. "Grand Mistress, it's like this. This lowly one still has some matters to take care of here. One day, wait for this lowly one day. After one day, this lowly one will personally escort you to the Divine Valley. At the same time, this lowly one also has some matters to discuss with Master. What do you think?" Lu Changtian was negotiating, not ordering. After all, the person in front of him was Lin Rui's mother. Looking at Lu Changtian, Hui Yun hesitated. Right now, she missed her son immensely. However, when she thought of the Divine Valley in her own cultivation, she did not want to agree, but she had no choice. All right. However, I will only give you 1 day. After 1 day, regardless of whether you leave or not, I will leave for the Divine Valley. After saying that, she did not wait for Lu Changtian to reply. She turned around and walked towards her own courtyard, leaving behind an embarrassed Lu Changtian. Seeing Hui Yun's departing figure, Lu Changtian sighed. As expected of a mother and son. This temper, tisk tisk, she raised her head and looked at the pitch-black night sky. There were many stars and the moonlight was bright. She frowned slightly. It seems that I have to speed up. Otherwise, if I really let Grand Mistress go alone, I'm afraid I won't be able to explain it to Master. After saying that, his figure flashed and left. Not long after, he arrived in front of the Long family's gate. At this moment, the Long family's gate was no longer guarded like before. The door was wide open. Lu Changtian frowned at this scene and walked in. Along the way, Lu Changtian saw a lot of people. However, these people seemed to be very afraid of him. When they saw Lu Changtian, they lowered their heads and trembled, not saying much. This scene made Lu Changtian feel embarrassed to ask where Long Ming was. There was nothing he could do about it. Relying on his perception, he walked and stopped. Finally, he sensed Long Ming's aura in a secret room deep within the Long family. Looks like I went a little overboard earlier. At this moment, Long Ming's aura was very unstable, showing the extent of his injuries. Arriving at the door, he pushed it open and entered. Arriving at the door of the secret room, he sensed the situation inside and then raised his hand to open the door. "Long Ming, come out. I have something to say." Lu Changtian's voice was filled with origin energy, so it was very penetrating. Even though the door of the secret room was very thick, it still clearly entered Long Ming's ears. Wang. This sound was very familiar to Long Ming. It was so familiar that it scared him. "Why are you back again?" Turning his head to look at the door, his heart was filled with doubts. "Hurry up, I'll give you 3 breaths. If I don't see you standing in front of me after 3 breaths, then you can deal with the consequences." *CK, as soon as these words came out, Long Ming cursed in his heart. Then, his figure flashed and arrived in front of the door. He pulled the mechanism and opened the door. At this moment, Long Ming did not dare to be negligent. After all, the pain in his body had not subsided. He did not want to go through this a few more times. Kacha, kacha, the sound of the door opening reached Lu Changtian's ears. A smile flashed across his face as he sat down on a chair at the side. He picked up the teacup and took a sip. His face revealed a look of enjoyment. This guy is living quite well. The tea is so good. Feeling the mellow fragrance of the tea, Lu Changtian could not help but envy Long Ming. As a person who loved tea, he understood the price of this cup of tea. He took a sip and tasted it. 3 breaths. After 3 breaths, Long Ming appeared in front of Lu Changtian as expected. Looking at Long Ming, Lu Changtian did not beat around the bush and said straightforwardly, "I'm leaving tomorrow. You take your men and follow me. As for your life, wait until we reach that place and wait for that person's decision. It's up to that person to kill or leave you alive. However, that person's mother is also going this time. As long as you can serve that person well on the way this time, I can't guarantee that you won't be killed, but it will still be useful." This. Looking at Lu Changtian, Long Ming hesitated. He did not want to give up on this place. After all, in the long family of Guanyin Empire, he was only the 3rd young master. His authority was limited. But here, he was the head of the family. His strength was very strong here. Of course, if you don't go, I'm afraid I won't be able to explain it. You can choose not to go, but if you do, I will kill you here. Long Ming was speechless. Are you King negotiating with me? You might as well threaten me directly. This sentence rang in Long Ming's mind, but his face was full of smiles as he nodded repeatedly. Go, of course we'll go. How can I not listen to Elder Lu's words? Long Ming began to express his position. Elder Lu, when you say we'll leave, we'll leave. There won't be a trace of sloppiness. Hee, that's good. Just now, I was still in a dilemma. If you don't go, should I kill you or just let it go? Fortunately, you made your choice. Otherwise, I would have been in a bit of a dilemma. Sweat. Long Ming let out a long sigh. Fortunately, I made the right choice. Otherwise, thinking about how powerful Lu Changtian was, Long Ming couldn't help but shiver. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and bowed. Elder Lu, since we're leaving tomorrow, I'll go gather my subordinates and pack up. Okay, go ahead. After receiving permission, Long Ming bowed and left the room. Fortunately, you chose to leave with me. Otherwise, I would have killed all of you. After all, I don't want to leave a scourge like you in Lian City. His voice wasn't loud, but the murderous intent emitted from his body was felt by Long Ming, who was far away from the room. Motherf***Ker, luckily I made the right choice. This Motherf***Ker really isn't human. When it came to Lu Changtian, Long Ming's heart was filled with fear. As for the person that Lu Changtian mentioned, he was even more curious. What kind of person was able to subdue such a powerful person? One had to know that Lu Changtian was a martial honorable. That person had to be a martial sage, or even. The more Long Ming thought about it, the more shocked he was. After all, how bizarre was it for someone with such strength to appear here? Sensing that Long Ming was far away, Lu Changtian got up and used the butterfly steps to rush toward the Lin family. At that moment, in the Lin family's hall, the banquet had already ended. Some people had also left. However, Master Lin, Wang Yun, Huang Zhong, and 4 or 5 other people stayed behind. It wasn't that Wang Yun and the others didn't want to leave. It was that Lu Changtian hadn't returned yet, and they didn't dare to leave. As for Master Lin, he didn't stay either. As the host of the Lin family, he didn't dare to leave when the guests were still in the hall. Therefore, he stayed here and didn't leave. Master Lin, you know the Long family? Suddenly, Wang Yun asked Master Lin. Perhaps it was because it was so sudden that Master Lin was stunned on the spot. What? The Long family? Yes, the Long family. Wang Yun nodded. Looking at Lu Changtian, Master Lin shook his head firmly. Elder Wang Yun, you must be joking. Before the Long family entered Lian City, I didn't know that there was such a family in the Yan country. Therefore, I don't know the Long family. Wang Yun was stunned by Master Lin's words. He frowned slightly. Since you don't know them, I wonder if there's any enmity between us? Or did your ancestors or juniors offend the Long family unintentionally? No, the ancestors of the Lin family never had any enmity with the Long family. As for the matter of Little North Gate, you can rest assured. The juniors of the Lin family have been taught strictly since they were young. They are not allowed to cause trouble outside. Moreover, the Long family seemed to have suddenly appeared in the Yan country. Therefore, he shrugged helplessly. He understood the meaning of Wang Yun's question. Unfortunately, he really didn't know the Long family. Wang Yun was puzzled by the answer he received. The Lin family and the Long family didn't know each other and didn't have any enmity between them. Why did the Long family target the Lin family? They even wanted to eliminate the Lin family to prevent future troubles. All right. In the end, Wang Yun could only give up. He also let go of the Long family's matter. After all, this matter was handed over to Lu Changtian. The scene fell into silence again. No one spoke. Everyone was thinking about their own matters. Ta-ta, footsteps sounded. Everyone came back to their senses and looked towards the door. They saw Lu Changtian, who had left for a long time, appear at the entrance of the hall. Brother Lu, you appeared at noon. Wang Yun was the first to welcome Lu Changtian's appearance. After all, Lu Changtian's appearance meant that they were not far from leaving. Changtian. Seeing Lu Changtian's appearance, Master Lin also stood up and greeted Lu Changtian. Old Master, Brother Wang. Looking at the crowd, Lu Changtian's eyes flashed with guilt. Then, he looked at Wang Yun and went straight to the point. Brother Wang, I'm leaving tomorrow, so I have to arrange things today. Otherwise, there won't be enough time. What? What? As soon as Lu Changtian said that, Wang Yun and Master Lin exclaimed in unison. The two of you don't have to be like this. Leaving is inevitable. After all, this matter hasn't been resolved yet. After I leave this time, this matter will probably be completely resolved when I return. At that time, the Lin family won't need to be reminded anymore. Looking at Lu Changtian, old Master Lin was very grateful. Changtian, I won't say any more words of thanks. Have a safe journey. Yes, have a safe journey. Say hello to Senior for us. Wang Yun echoed old Master Lin. Don't worry. Moving away from old Master Lin, his gaze fell on Wang Yun and the others. With a serious expression, he said, in order to prevent the Lin family from being disturbed, everyone will take the initiative to attack this time. With Lian City as the center, we will advance to the surrounding cities. We must visit every city. If possible, make a trip to the imperial city and tell the royal family that the Lin family will leave the Yan country in the future. Lian City will belong to the Lin family. Hearing this, Wang Yun was stunned. Her face was a little pale. Leaving the Yan country was a little too much. Why, are you afraid that the Yan kingdom royalty will take action? She frowned and asked. No, it's just that if the Lin family leaves the Yan country, how will Lian City survive in the future? Just the bandits around Lian City will enter Lian City and plunder wantonly. Won't this have a negative impact on Lian City? This was Wang Yun's heartfelt words. This was the first time she heard of a city leaving the country. If a city left the country, it represented the city's independence. Although there were advantages, there were also disadvantages. If a city lost the protection of the country, the surrounding bandits would have thoughts of occupying the city. Moreover, the country's strong teams would also consider the idea of entering Lian City. Lu Changtian didn't care about what Wang Yun said at all. You don't have to worry about this. Didn't I tell you to send people to the surrounding areas with Lian City as the center? It's fine if the royal family follows the rules. If they dare to interfere or obstruct us, we will directly destroy them. From then on, the Yen country can be changed to the Lin country. Of course, this is necessary. After all, no one wants to see the destruction and rise of a country. All right, I'll listen to you. Wang Yun nodded in agreement. Yes, remember. Every city has to be changed. You must use a strong force to intimidate them. Otherwise, I'm afraid that after I leave, those bastards will attack the Lin family. All right, I understand. Don't worry. With the sword sect around, you can rest assured about the Lin family. Even if we fight to the last person in the sword sect, we won't let anything happen to the Long family. Wang Yun was serious. After all, even if something happened to the Lin family and the sword sect was fine, they would probably be destroyed by Lin Ray in the end. Therefore, it was better to use the sword sect to protect the Lin family. More sword sect, more elder Wang Yun. At the side, Master Lin stood up and bowed deeply to Wang Yun and the others. After all, for an elder of the sword sect to say such words, it meant that he was determined. Old master, you shouldn't do this in the future. Otherwise, if senior finds out, I'm afraid I won't be able to bear the consequences. As he spoke, he looked at Lu Changtian and asked for help. Haha. Looking at Wang Yun's pleading look, Lu Changtian smiled and nodded. Old master, you can just call him by his name in the future. Although the sword sect is allied with the Lin family, to be honest, the sword sect just wants to become a subsidiary of the Lin family. Wang Yun was speechless. The corner of Wang Yun's mouth twitched and his eyelids twitched at Lu Changtian's straightforwardness. Is that so? Even old Master Lin was speechless at Lu Changtian's straightforwardness. As the saying goes, see through something but don't say it out loud. Lu Changtian didn't care about the sword sect and Wang Yun's face at all. Yes. So, old master, you can just tell us directly in the future. We will definitely obey. Chapter 1052. Just like that, the group of people chatted for a long time. After they finally agreed on something, they left. Lu Changtian returned to the room that Master Lin had arranged for him. He did not sleep. Instead, he sat cross-legged and cultivated according to the cultivation method that Lin Ray had given him. Although he could not convert the essence energy in his body into spirit energy now, he could use the beautiful spirit energy to strengthen his body. Lu Changtian was a decent person. He was very satisfied with his current state. Although he had not become a cultivator like Lin Ray, at least his current cultivation was rapidly increasing. It would not be long before he broke through his current cultivation and entered another level. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, the red sun slowly rose from the horizon. Light shone into Lu Changtian's room through the window and imprinted on Lu Changtian's face. It's dawn. Feeling the light, Lu Changtian opened his eyes and looked at the bright sky outside the window. His heart was filled with dissatisfaction because he was not satisfied with cultivation yet. He felt that time had passed too quickly. In the blink of an eye, dawn had arrived. Today, he would bring Huiyun, Long Ming, and the others on the journey back to the Divine Valley. He was slightly stunned. He got up and patted the wrinkled clothes on his body. He opened the door. The morning air was exceptionally fresh, but it was also cold. We're finally back. Lu Changtian was inexplicably excited about the Divine Valley. Although the Divine Valley was like hell to him, it was undeniable that he could obtain power there. Moreover, the speed at which his power increased was very significant. Brother Lu, just as Lu Changtian was enjoying the early morning, Wang Yun's voice came from afar. He opened his eyes and lowered his head to look into the distance. Wang Yun's figure appeared in Lu Changtian's line of sight. Looking at Wang Yun, Lu Changtian was puzzled. He had already arranged everything previously. What was he doing here so early in the morning? With doubts, he walked toward Wang Yun. Brother Wang, I wonder why you came to find me so early in the morning? Hearing Lu Changtian's words, Wang Yun was taken aback. He stopped and awkwardly said, No, Brother Lu is about to leave, so I wanted to send you off. Lu Changtian, with regards to Wang Yun's actions, Lu Changtian was speechless. He even wanted to give her a gift? It wasn't like he was King gay. That's what he thought, but he didn't say it out loud. Brother Wang, thank you for your concern. Since that's the case, then, let's go. As he spoke, he walked up to Wang Yun and walked side by side with her. The Lin family members who passed by all respectfully greeted him. Yesterday, after Lu Changtian and Wang Yun revealed their identities and learned of their cultivation bases, they didn't dare to have any other thoughts other than respect. The two of them arrived at the entrance of the Lin family. At this moment, there was a huge crowd at the entrance, and the one leading them was none other than the infamous Long Ming the day before yesterday. As for the others, they were all Long Ming's subordinates. You're here. When he came to the door and saw Long Ming, a satisfied expression flashed in Lu Changtian's eyes. Yes. We naturally have to listen to Senior's words. Although he said so, he was smiling bitterly in his heart. *CK, how can I not come? If I don't come, you will annihilate all of us. Lu Changtian didn't know what Long Ming was thinking. Of course, he disdained to know. In his opinion, it was fine as long as Long Ming came. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a big deal if all of them were annihilated. Senior, should we leave now or? Long Ming spoke in a flattering tone. After all, their lives were now in the hands of the man in front of them. They had to be terrified. No, we still have to wait for one more person. When that person comes, we will set off. Looking at the door, Lu Changtian said. Remember, that person is the one you have to serve along the way. If that person feels uncomfortable, then you can go straight to hell. Murderous aura surged and he snorted coldly. Yes. Cold sweat couldn't help but emerge from his forehead. His face was pale as if he was being stared at by a ferocious beast from ancient times that had awakened from a deep slumber. His body couldn't help but tremble. His body was so frightened by Lu Changtian's murderous aura that he took a step back. When the subordinates behind Long Ming saw this scene, their faces turned pale. Lu Changtian's terror was engraved in their hearts. In their hearts, Lu Changtian was the devil. Alright, don't be like this. As long as you don't do anything, I won't do anything to you. Lu Changtian couldn't kill them. After all, they were left for Lin Rui. As for whether to kill them or not, it was up to Lin Rui to decide. Time passed bit by bit. Lu Changtian and Wang Yun chatted. They didn't know how much time had passed, but the sun had already risen above their heads. Tap, light footsteps came from behind. Everyone turned their heads and saw Hui Yun walking out of the Lin family's door. Grand Mistress, you're here. Looking at Hui Yun, Lu Changtian changed his usual behavior and trotted to Hui Yun's side as if to curry favor, waiting for orders with a flattering expression. When Long Ming and the others saw Lu Changtian's actions, their minds instantly went blank. Their expressions were filled with shock, as if they had seen something unbelievable. Even Wang Yun, who was at the side, was no different from Long Ming and the others, especially those who knew Lu Changtian's cultivation level. Damn it, they said in their hearts at the same time. Then, they lowered their heads and didn't dare to look. They quietly waited for Lu Changtian's orders. After Hui Yun spoke, the order was lifted. Alright, there's no time to lose. Let's hurry and go straight to the Divine Valley. Okay, you have the final say. Lu Changtian understood why Hui Yun was so anxious. He nodded and turned to look at Long Ming and the others. Did you hear that? In a while, tell your people to hurry up. If anyone dares to fall behind, I won't let them off easily. When these words came out, Long Ming and the others' expressions changed. Cold sweat flowed down their faces, but they didn't dare to complain or refute. Let's go. The group walked out of Lian's city. When they came, they were alone. Now, they were going back as a group of more than 30 people. On the other side, Lin Rei didn't know that Lu Changtian had brought his mother, Hui Yun, to the Divine Valley this time. If he knew, Lin Rei definitely wouldn't have left the Divine Valley. Instead, he would have waited for his mother to come and reunite with her. Unfortunately, everything was a bit too late. At this moment, Lin Rei had already left the Divine Valley and stepped on the road of travel with Blood Spirit Sky. From Lin Rei's point of view, what he thought of as working behind closed doors was just for show. If he didn't experience the world of mortals, how could he see through it? Moreover, his current realm was enough. What he lacked the most was spiritual energy. What worried him the most was his uncontrollable killing intent. Thinking about it, this was the reason why the little dragon had left him here. After all, this was the only reason Lin Rei could think of. It was because of the existence of killing intent. It wasn't obvious now, but once he cultivated to a high realm, it would become obvious. The more killing intent there was, the harder it would be to raise one's realm. Moreover, if the killing intent caused inner demons, the consequences would be unimaginable. Chapter 1053. Eastern Region, Void Chant City. Not far away, a comically dressed young man was walking over. He seemed to have blended into nature, giving off an amiable feeling. With a single glance, one could tell that he was a member of a large family clan. Furthermore, his status in a large family clan was not low. I say, why did we come here? There's nothing fun here. Why don't we go and explore the various forbidden areas? Who knows, we might even be able to increase our cultivation. What use do you have for coming here? What else do you have apart from people? This was a voice that appeared in the young man's mind. The voice was filled with impatience. What do you know? The young man snorted coldly. You only know how to cultivate. What's the use if you don't increase your cultivation? Forbidden areas? Why don't you go and die? With my current cultivation, isn't going to a forbidden area the same as courting death? Or do you want me to die in a forbidden area so that you can be free? The more he spoke, the more gloomy the young man's expression became. His scholarly aura was instantly replaced by this gloominess. Lin Rei's mood suddenly changed. The voice instantly became terrified. It stuttered as if it was extremely afraid of the young man. Lin Rei, I was just saying. Don't take it seriously. Don't take it seriously. That's right. This gloomy-looking young man was none other than Lin Rei, who had left the Divine Valley. As for the voice in Lin Rei's mind, it was none other than the blood dragon, Xueling Tian. The two of them walked and stopped. In a month's time, they had arrived here from the Divine Valley. Originally, when Lin Rei saw the city, he had planned to go in to eat and drink. However, he did not expect Xueling Tian to be so, sigh. Letting out a long sigh, his expression eased a little. Remember, before your niece says anything, you'd better shut up. After saying that, he ignored Xueling Tian and walked toward Void Chant City alone. Along the way, Lin Rei heard many legends about Void Chant City. He heard that the origin of Void Chant City was extremely legendary. It seemed to have surged up from underground. No one knew what was going on. Of course, these were only legends. As for the specifics, no one knew. Looking at Void Chant City, Lin Rei was standing in front of the city gates. Looking at this massive city, he felt quite puzzled. This city was somewhat out of place compared to the other cities in the Destiny boundary. Lin Rei even felt a sense of familiarity with Void Chant City. TSK. What's going on? I've never been here before, so why do I have such a feeling about this place? He was a little confused, but he didn't think too much about it. After all, there was no need to think about this kind of thing. He walked into the city. Strangely enough, there were a lot of people coming and going in the city. It was almost comparable to a capital city. Following the flow of people into Suinjia, they saw all kinds of shops. Many stalls were set up at the entrance, hawking their wares. The scene was exceptionally lively. It's here. Flaming Tiger's tiger tooth. 500 gold coins. Good stuff. You won't get another chance like this. The void spirit grass is sold at a low price. Come and take a look. It's not 99%, it's only 50%. Come and see. The weapon that martial god once used, the void sword. It can cut through the void with a single slash. Come and take a look. It's cheap. The voices of people hawking their wares fell into Lin Rei's ears. Lin Rei only felt the urge to laugh when he heard these things. Especially when he heard about the void sword, he wanted to laugh even more. Things like the void sword did exist, but it was impossible for a weapon of this price to appear here. Even the divine world didn't have it, let alone this low-level realm. As for the flaming tiger's teeth, Lin Li couldn't help but think of Little Tiger. Wasn't Little Tiger the flaming tiger? If he saw this scene, he would probably be so angry that he would open his bloody mouth and swallow this person whole. Hee hee, interesting. I didn't expect to hear things that only exist in the cultivation world here. Lin Rei was very curious. As far as he knew, there wasn't a flaming tiger in the entire Heavenly Fate continent, especially the Void Sword. Why would an existence of this level appear in this place? Lin Li was now even more curious about this Void Chant city. Previously, he had only been curious because of that legend. Now that he had heard of these things which could only be found in the deity realm, Lin Li was even more certain that this place was not simple at all. What's wrong? Where are we going now? Just as Lin Rei was pondering, the voice of the blood spirit sky sounded. Let's go eat. Let's go see how the restaurants in Void Chant City are like. It's been a long time since I've eaten good food. Okay, hurry up. I'm starving. The blood spirit sky had no resistance to delicious food. Lin Rei was speechless. Regarding the blood spirit sky, Lin Rei was speechless. What else could he do? Previously, he looked reluctant, but now, it was indeed the case. Without thinking about it, he took a step forward and scanned the items in the stalls. He also knew how to pick up scraps, but along the way, he was disappointed that among so many things, there wasn't a single thing that was worth picking up. However, he had to admit that a big city was indeed a big city. Although there wasn't anything that caught his eye, there were a few things that would probably cause a bloody storm in the Heavenly Fate continent if they appeared in the world. Just when Lin Rei thought that he couldn't find anything he liked, suddenly, a small golden coffin-like thing appeared in Lin Rei's vision. This thing is a little interesting. In this small golden coffin, Lin Rei felt a huge amount of spiritual energy flash past. Although it was just a flash, Lin Rei still noticed it. In this world that was close to the end of the Dharma age, it could be said that it was rare to encounter something with such a huge amount of spiritual energy. Feeling that this thing was extraordinary, Lin Rei slowly walked to the stall where the small golden coffin was placed, took off his clothes, and looked at it himself. Yo, little brother, I don't know what you want to buy. You can rest assured that I guarantee the quality of the things here. There isn't a trace of fake. The stall owner, who was narrowing his eyes, saw Lin Rei's arrival and looked at the clothes on Lin Rei's body. He understood that a fat sheep had appeared. How much is this thing? Lin Rei went straight to the point and pointed at the small coffin. He was determined to get this thing. This? Looking at the thing Lin Rei pointed at, the stall owner was startled and immediately responded, although this thing looks good, it's actually useless. I can't open it and I don't know what's inside. Are you sure you want this thing? The stall owner confirmed. I'm sure. Lin Rei was a little surprised by the stall owner's words. He had never encountered such a situation before. In the past, the stall owners were either thinking about how to cheat people or how to get more from the fat sheep. However, the stall owner in front of him was persuading him not to buy. Has the world changed? Chapter 1054. Lin Rei's persistence made the stall owner feel helpless. He nodded and said, "All right, since you insist, I won't say anything more." Then, he looked at the small golden coffin and said, "Just give me 100 gold coins." As soon as these words came out, the surrounding people's gazes were attracted. 100 gold coins, this was an astronomical number for an ordinary person. Even for an ordinary cultivator, this was not a small amount of wealth. Everyone's eyes gathered on Lin Rei. They were wondering if the young man in front of them could afford such a huge sum. Of course, when some people saw the small coffin, they had the thought that the stall owner was cheating them again. Of course, Linley ignored everyone's gazes. Since Linley didn't care what they thought. In Linley's heart, this little coffin was worth 5,000 gold coins, let alone 100 gold coins. This was because the coffin contained the most scarce thing in this world, spiritual energy. Lin Rei could feel that the spiritual energy in this small coffin was very terrifying. Moreover, the spiritual energy was very pure. It was even close to the spiritual energy in the immortal world. Although he didn't know what was going on, he was sure that only he could use this thing. As for how to open it, he didn't know. He would have to investigate it carefully after he got it. All right, 100 gold coins it is. Linley immediately agreed, and then began to rummage through his clothes. 100 gold coins wasn't a lot, but it wasn't a small amount either. Most people wouldn't be able to carry 100 gold coins on them at all times. Lin Rei's actions made the stall owner see something. He didn't expect Lin Rei to put 100 gold coins on himself. A short while later, Linley felt left and right, and finally, 100 gold coins appeared in front of the stall owner, not missing a single one. The stall owner was speechless. He had nothing to say about Lin Rei's boldness. He lowered his head and took out the small golden coffin. He handed it to Lin Rei and waited for him to accept it. Looking at the golden coffin, a smile appeared on Linley's face. He stretched out his hand, intending to take it. But to Linley's surprise, just as he was about to accept the small coffin, a hand suddenly appeared and interrupted Linley's beautiful mood. "Oh, this little thing is quite pretty." A sharp voice sounded, and a hand was already placed on top of the small golden coffin that the shop owner handed over, looking like he was going to take it away. Lin Rei's mood was completely ruined by the appearance of this thought. Originally, he was very happy to have encountered spiritual energy. However, he had encountered such a disgusting thing midway. Young master, I'm really sorry. This item has already been bought by this young master, so I'm really sorry." The boss's attitude was very firm. In his opinion, whoever he sold it to was who he sold it to. Since the other party paid for it, it had to be the other party's. It was his principle as a businessman to not give it away or change it. However, when the stall owner's words fell into Lin Rei's ears, Lin Rei was stunned. After all, the probability of this happening was very small. Looking at the stall owner, a flash of light appeared in Lin Rei's eyes. He was very satisfied with the stall owner's performance. However, for the person who reached out to snatch the item, the stall owner's words were very harsh. When the man who grabbed the small golden coffin heard the stall owner's words, his expression suddenly changed. An aura that did not belong to an ordinary person rushed out of his body. "Are you sure you don't want to take back what you just said?" It was a blatant threat. He did not expect his boss's attitude. You don't have to say it. I'm very sure. You should give up on this item." After saying that, his hands shook, and he fiercely threw the man's hand away. Then, he handed the coffin to Lin Rei. "Young master, this is your item. Please keep it well." "You dare?" A loud roar came from the man who interrupted. "Boy, in Void Chant City, no one dares to go against my young master. Are you sure you want to keep this item? Don't you want to reconsider?" Perhaps in the man's opinion, they were very powerful, so powerful that the people of Void Chant City were afraid of them. Unfortunately, there was always a chance. Unfortunately, the person they met was Lin Ray, a person who was not afraid of ghosts and gods. Ha, ha ha ha, a loud laugh burst out from Linley's mouth. His voice was so laughable, and his face was filled with disdain. Little fellow, do you know what happened to the last person who threatened me? What? What happened? Lin Ray's laughter came out of nowhere. The man was so frightened that he subconsciously answered Lin Ray's question. Ha, you'll know soon enough. What? The man did not understand. Go, kill him. Lin Ray said. His words were directed at the blood spirit sky. You, whoosh. Poochie. The man wanted to speak, but when he opened his mouth to say the first word, a wave of pleasure came from his chest. His consciousness gradually blurred, and his entire body became weak as he fell backward. Humph, threatening me. Lin Ray looked at the dead man and snorted coldly. Fortunately, you didn't say what the power behind you was. Otherwise, it wouldn't be just you. Even your master wouldn't be able to escape. Hiss. Lin Ray did not hide his words from the people around him. In his opinion, there was no need to do so. As for the stall owner, he was shocked by this sudden scene. He was completely stunned. He did not even see how the young man in front of him attacked, and the man was already dead. He raised his head and looked at Lin Ray in shock. His eyes were full of fear, especially the last sentence, which contained a strong killing intent. Ha! He snorted coldly, then lowered his head to observe the small coffin. He closed his eyes and quietly felt the vigorous spiritual energy inside. Linley, who was in the middle of his senses, suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with disbelief. A formation? How is this possible? That's right, it was a formation. There was a formation in this small coffin, and it did not seem to be a low-level formation. What's going on? Isn't this the age of chaos, a low-level realm? Why would a formation appear here? Moreover, and the formation's level is so high. Of course, Lin Ray could easily deal with the formation's power if he was at his peak. But now, that was not necessarily the case. After all, without the support of spiritual chi, he did not have much confidence that Montgomery would be able to break the array formation of this small coffin. Fuck, there's a treasure mountain, but there's nothing to open it. Isn't this a joke? Chapter 1055. Young man, I advise you to leave quickly. Now that you've killed someone from the Shui clan, I'm afraid there will be no place for you in Void Chant City. The sudden voice woke Lin Ray from his thoughts. Turning his head to look, he saw that an old man had unknowingly appeared in front of him. Looking at him, his expression was filled with excitement. Shui clan? Lin Ray was stunned by the sudden appearance of this clan. Could it be that the Shui clan was very powerful in Void Chant City? Yes, the Shui clan. The person you just killed seems to be the personal servant of the eldest young master of the Shui clan. This servant grew up with the eldest young master of the Shui clan, so he was very protective of him. Now that you've killed his servant, I'm afraid there will be no place for you in Void Chant City. Listen to my advice. Leave. Only by leaving can you survive. Otherwise, it will be difficult to stay in Void Chant City. Lin Ray was stunned when he heard those words. He could not understand why he looked so weak. Of course, he would not say that out loud. He smiled and said, "All right, thank you, old man." After saying that, he ignored the old man and walked into the depths of Void Chant City with the small coffin in his hand. His original intention was to search for his restaurant, but he was interrupted by the small coffin midway. Lin Ray, aren't you afraid that the Shui clan will come to settle the score with you? Xue Lingtian asked with disdain. The Shui clan, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to find them. Since they're here, then I'll kill them all. After all, I'm not someone who likes to leave trouble for myself. Fine. Blood Lingtian's body trembled in approval of Linley's decision. I'll leave this matter to you. If anyone from the Shui clan comes while I'm eating, kill them all. A cold voice sounded in Shui Lingtian's ears. Shui Lingtian was speechless. Shui Lingtian was speechless at the task Lin Rei assigned to him. There was nothing he could do. After all, he was the master. The two of them fell silent. As they walked, Lin Rei searched for a restaurant. On the other side, in the Shui family manor, in the residence of the eldest son of the Shui family, a loud roar could be heard as he rushed out of his room. Bastard, who is it, who killed my men? Don't you know that they are from my Shui clan? Below Shui Wuyong, there was a young man kneeling. He was the one who came to report the death of his servant. Eldest young master, that person seems to have just entered Void Chant City. He looks unfamiliar, but his cultivation is very strong. Powerful cultivation? Powerful cultivation? So what if your cultivation is strong? You killed my men. Even if your cultivation base is strong, you will still die. My men are not so easily killed. The moment he said that, the young man felt the air around him suddenly freeze. Eldest young master, then, all right, you have done well in this matter. Go and receive your reward. Shui Wuyong said. Thank you young master, thank you, the young man was excited. Shui Wuyong always gave him a lot of rewards. This time, it would definitely not be a small amount. Looking at the young man's back, Shui Wuyong's eyes were filled with killing intent. Very good. How dare you kill my men in my territory? Just you wait. At this moment, Lin Rei, who was in front of a restaurant, did not know that he had been targeted by the forces of Void Chant City. Of course, this was not something that Lin Rei was thinking about. At this moment, Lin Rei looked at the restaurant in front of him and hesitated. He was considering whether he should go in or not. Although the restaurant looked luxurious, Lin Rei had an inexplicable feeling of disgust in his heart. This feeling came so suddenly that even Lin Rei was a little shocked. Let's go in. I can smell the fragrance of the food inside. Lin Rei's hesitation made the blood spirit Sky unable to stand it. After all, with delicious food in front of him, how could he let him know that he was a carnivore? He instinctively wanted to refuse, but he was also attracted by the fragrance. In the end, he nodded and said, all right, since that's the case, let's go in and take a look. After saying that, he threw the disgust from before to the back of his mind and walked towards the restaurant. Ouch! Suddenly, a woman's cry of pain sounded. At the entrance of the restaurant, a woman was lying on the ground, holding her waist with a painful expression. At this moment, Lin Rei stopped at the entrance and looked at this scene helplessly. Perhaps he was in a hurry just now, but he did not see the woman coming out of the restaurant. As a result, the two of them bumped into each other. Of course, facing Lin Rei, the woman was the only one who could be thrown to the ground. Are you okay? He scratched his head awkwardly and asked in a gentle tone. What's wrong with you? Can't you see that my young miss is in pain? Really, don't you look when you're walking? A protective voice sounded from the side. A little girl dressed like a servant squeezed out of the crowd and came in front of the woman who had fallen to the ground. She reached out and helped her up. Young mistress, are you all right? While supporting her, the lass asked anxiously with an anxious look on her face. I'm fine. Let this young master go. After all, I was in a hurry just now. Don't blame him. A weak voice that made people want to protect her sounded in Lin Rei's ears. How can that be? Hearing the woman's words, the little girl became anxious, as if she was going to lose out in this matter. Young miss, you don't feel it now, but what if something happens? What will we do? Even my little life is not enough to pay for it. Why don't we go and take a look? How can that be? I already said that there's no need. Let him go. At the side, Lin Rei was speechless when he saw the two of them talking like this. Lin Rei's heart was filled with speechlessness. Lin Rei, hurry up and settle it. I'm hungry. Shui Lingtian's voice sounded in Lin Rei's mind. Got it. He raised his head and saw that the two girls were still insisting on their opinions. He rolled his eyes and said, the two of you, time is limited. Since the two of you have your own opinions, why don't you let me see if this young miss is fine? After all, this matter is my fault. Alright, I've been studying medicine recently. If you believe me. Of course, if you don't believe me, you can wait for me to finish my meal and accompany the two of you to a place you believe in. How about it? Lin Rei's words attracted the attention of the two girls. However, the little girl immediately rejected Lin Rei's words. No, how can my young miss be touched by you? Alright, since that's the case, I'll go check after I finish my meal. After saying that, he went to an empty table and sat down, minding his own business and ignoring the aggressive little girl. Chapter 1056. Hey, how can you be like this? Do you know who my young miss is? Did you hear me? I'm talking to you. Are you listening? Bastard, look here. Do you know that you're being very rude? Hey, you, in an instant, the little girl's aggressiveness caused the atmosphere to become extremely awkward. The atmosphere slowly turned cold. When the surrounding people who had been eating heard the little girl's unreasonable behavior, they all surrounded Linley, the little girl, and the others. They all looked at them with similar expressions on their faces. However, the crowd did not notice that the originally calm Lin Rei's expression slowly darkened. Traces of killing intent appeared around his body. Hey, did you hear me? I'm talking to you. The little girl's small mouth did not stop moving. The little girl's voice was too noisy. She talked too much. If you say another word, I'll kill you. Not only you, but your young miss as well. Do you want to try? Xiao, just as Lin Rei finished speaking, a blood-red figure flashed past. Of course, to some powerful martial cultivators, this was a red light. However, to some ordinary people who did not cultivate, it was nothing. Coincidentally, the little girl was a cultivator. Her cultivation was quite strong. She was already a martial grand master. Lin Rei could not help but be surprised. Of course, he was only surprised. After all, at her age, he had seen many people who were stronger than her. For example, his eldest disciple, Lin Wanyu, had already reached the martial saint realm when she was his age. Compared to this world, her cultivation should be at the martial saint realm. However, it had to be said that this little girl was quite beautiful. Her appearance did not lose to the holy maidens of the sacred grounds in the divine realm. However, this little girl was crazy. Xiao Jing, shut up. A soft shout came from the girl who was called Young Mississippi. Her expression was much colder than before. Others might not know, but she was very clear. At this moment, there was a mouth of sharp teeth behind her neck. She could feel the aura of death very deeply. So, young miss, shut up. Although she usually doted on the little girl, at this moment, she understood that what the other party said was true. Moreover, the man in front of her was very powerful, so powerful that it made her tremble. Therefore, he did not dare to be careless in the slightest. When the little lass heard her master's angry roar, she couldn't hide the grievance on her face. Tears flowed out of her eyes and she was covered in tears. Heh. You're not bad. Lin Rei was very satisfied with the girl's understanding of the situation. Although he understood that this was under the threat of the blood spirit sky, at least they were no longer arguing. Thank you, she, who came from a large family, pretended to be calm as she saluted Lin Rei and stood to the side, not daring to say anything. Heh, towards the girl's actions, Linley simply laughed. Turning his head to look at the waiter, he called out, "Bring out all of your restaurant's signature dishes, as well as your best wine." Do you understand? I understand. In the crowd, when the waiter heard Lin Rei's words, he nodded in a daze and turned to leave. As a member of the restaurant, he was very alert and well-informed. He was very clear about the girl's identity. Yu Ling, the beloved daughter of the Void Chant City's city lord. Now, Yu Ling didn't dare to complain in front of Lin Rei. He was just an ant that no one would remember even if he was thrown into a crowd. Who would care about him? Therefore, their attitude towards Linley had undergone a 180-degree change. If they had known that Linley's cultivation was strong before, they probably wouldn't have foolishly watched the show from the sidelines. You. Why are you still here? His murderous aura instantly rose and locked onto everyone present. Yu Ling was no exception. PFFF, sounds of people vomiting blood resounded in the hall. Except for some people with decent cultivation, the rest of the ordinary people ended up vomiting blood. At this moment, everyone understood the strength of the man in front of them. They didn't dare to watch anymore. After bowing and apologizing to Lin Rei, they returned to their seats and lowered their heads to eat obediently. As for the bloodstains on the ground, the restaurant owner and waiter cleaned it up very obediently. It was as if they were afraid that this kind of environment would affect this terrifying man. If Lin Rei was unhappy, he would kill everyone here. The loss would outweigh the gain. In the hearts of the crowd, the man in front of them was the devil. He could even say that he wanted to kill a beautiful girl. Then, he wouldn't be merciful to men like them. Lin Rei was very satisfied with the crowd's actions. At this time, the wine was served. Lin Rei loved wine very much. His eyes lit up as he picked up the wine jug and took a sip. Gulp. The wine entered his throat and a spicy feeling appeared in his chest. Lin Rei liked this feeling very much. Tsk tisk, if only the system was by my side, the thousands of years old Mao Tai wine would be much better than this. Thinking about the Mao Tai wine he stored, he couldn't help but gulp. He couldn't help but want to taste it. On the side, Yu Ling stood there in a daze. Her appearance was very stiff. Even her expression didn't change. Cold sweat constantly overflowed from her forehead and slid down her cheeks. She looked very embarrassed. However, it had to be said that no matter how embarrassed Yu Ling was, it couldn't hide her appearance. Refreshing, dong. The wine jug was placed on the table. The word refreshing came out from Lin Rei's mouth. His face was filled with a relaxed smile. Come back. Don't scare the little girl. Lin Rei suddenly said. Whoosh, the red light appeared again. At this time, a small snake appeared on the table in front of Lin Rei. It looked at Yu Ling and Yu Ling with a fierce look. It had a vigilant look. You don't have to be so vigilant. The cultivation of the two of them combined is probably not enough to look at. Come, drink, Lin Rei said to himself. Without waiting for Shuelingtian's response, he took the wine jug and poured it on top of Shuelingtian's head. As he spoke, the wine jug landed on top of Shuelingtian's head. What was Yu Ling looking at this scene? What was he doing? Feeding wine to a snake. And an even more surprising scene appeared. Just as the wine was about to land on Shuelingtian's head, the little snake suddenly raised its head and opened its mouth to drink all the wine that Lin Rei poured into it. Burp, after drinking the wine, a burp came from the little snake's mouth. This scene was too human. It was as if the little snake was not a snake, but a person. A person with emotions and thoughts. This. You. Her eyes were wide open. Her expression was filled with disbelief as she pointed at the little snake. She stammered, looking very cute. Chapter 1057. Be quiet. If you're hungry, come over and eat. But remember, don't talk. My temper isn't very good, especially when I'm enjoying good food. If you don't want to die, be quiet and obedient. It won't be hard for me to get impatient. Can you do that? Lin Rei's words reached Yu Ling's ears. Yu Ling's entire body trembled. She nodded blankly, not daring to make a sound. She obediently went to the opposite side of Lin Ray and sat down. She lowered her head, not daring to look at Lin Ray or the blood spirit sky on the table. As for the little girl beside Yu Ling, she understood at this moment and didn't dare to speak. Behind Yu Ling, she also lowered her head and didn't dare to speak. At the entrance of the Divine Valley, Lu Changtian's group had arrived. After a month, they had finally arrived at the place of his dreams. Originally, with Lu Changtian's speed, it would take at most 7 or 8 days to reach the Divine Valley. But because Hui Yun was with him, they had to stop and walk, so a month's time was wasted. Everyone stopped at the entrance of the Divine Valley. Lu Changtian looked at Hui Yun with a nervous expression. That. Grand Mistress, this is the entrance to the Divine Valley. Oh. This is it? She looked at Lu Changtian, then at the entrance of the valley in front of them. Her face was full of surprise. She was unfamiliar with the Divine Valley. After all, she had never been here before. But according to rumors, the Divine Valley was an extremely dangerous place. There was the risk of death at any time in the Divine Valley. But the entrance of the Divine Valley in front of them was no different from the entrance of an ordinary valley. Hui Yun didn't expect this. Yes. As if he understood Hui Yun's thoughts, Lu Changtian smiled. This is the Divine Valley, the one in the rumors. But it's not as dangerous as the rumors say. There are many powerful monsters inside. As long as you're careful, you should be fine. Moreover, there are many aged spiritual herbs and spiritual herbs inside. The spiritual qi inside is much stronger than that of the outside world. Spiritual qi. Hui Yun was a little confused about the unfamiliar word spiritual energy. After all, she knew about elemental energy, but she didn't know what spiritual energy was. This spirit qi. Lu Changtian was stumped by Hui Yun's question. Although he knew about spirit qi, he didn't know what spirit qi meant. As for the spirit qi that he spoke of, he had only heard it from Lin Ray. Perhaps it was because they had been together for a long time that he would speak of spirit qi whenever he spoke. After hemming and hawing for a long time, he finally sighed helplessly. You should ask my master about this matter regarding spiritual energy. He will explain it clearly to you. Hui Yun was speechless at Lu Changtian's explanation. She rolled her eyes and ignored him. She turned her head away and didn't say anything. Lu Changtian couldn't do anything about Hui Yun's attitude. If the person standing in front of him wasn't Hui Yun, his master's mother, Lu Changtian would have already attacked. Grand Mistress, let's go. Just as Lu Changtian was about to lead everyone into the Divine Valley, a very protruding voice sounded. Senior, this side seems to be for you. For me? Turning his head to look at the person who spoke, Lu Changtian frowned and walked over. As he spoke, he looked at the direction the person was pointing at. A few lines of words entered his eyes. From the words, he could feel a domineering aura. Changtian, I'm going out to travel for a period of time. It might be a year or 10 years. If you come back during this time, you can enter the Divine Valley to cultivate. I left a few things for you at the place where we stayed before. If you break through to the martial god realm during this period of time, remember, you must cultivate according to the cultivation method I left for you the moment you break through to the martial god realm. I hope that the next time we meet, I'll see a cultivator and not a martial cultivator. Do you understand? Reading the contents that Lin Ray left for him, Lu Changtian was excited. He had wanted to become a cultivator like Lin Ray for a long time. However, Lin Ray always said that the time wasn't right. He didn't expect that now, however, excitement was one thing. As he continued reading, his original excitement disappeared and was replaced by cold fear. This is the opportunity I'm giving you. Take it. If you haven't broken through to the martial god realm and transformed into a nascent soul by the next time we meet, I'll throw you into the depths of the Divine Valley and make you work with those beasts day and night. Oh, by the way, I'll be concocting a type of aphrodisiac for the beasts. I hope you can withstand it when the time comes. For a moment, Lu Changtian ignored Huiyun and said angrily, F***ck, Master, aren't you trying to screw me over? When he read the next sentence, for some reason, his chrysanthemums suddenly tightened, and a strange chill swept through his body. Pfft, who wrote this? How cruel. At this moment, a young man with a bad brain laughed out loud, as if he didn't see Lu Changtian's dark face. Slap. The laughter was completely replaced by the sound of a slap. You little bastard, do you not want to live anymore? You even dare to interfere with Senior's matters. Do you think Senior is someone you can make fun of? Lu Changtian was really anxious about Long Ming and the others. Originally, others didn't know, but now that he said it, even if they didn't want to know, they had no choice. Lu Changtian felt very helpless about them. He originally wanted to teach them a lesson, but now he couldn't. What now? This thought appeared in Lu Changtian's mind. That's right, what now? Lin Rui wasn't here, how was he going to deal with the Guangyun Empire? This matter couldn't wait. If the people in the Guangyun Empire knew that something had happened here, would they still send people over? If he entered the Divine Valley to cultivate and ignored everything else, then, wouldn't the Lin family be in danger? Senior, what should we do now? Enter the Divine Valley to cultivate, go to the Guangyun Empire, or return to Liaocheng? Long Ming couldn't help but ask. In his heart, he wanted to go back the most. As for the Guangyun Empire? Why would he want to go back? Guangyun Empire? Hearing Long Ming's reminder, Lu Changtian, who was originally full of doubts, suddenly brightened up. That's right, the Guangyun Empire. Although they aren't a match for us, it won't be easy for them to catch me. Besides, if he didn't restrain them, they might find the Lin family again. At that time, the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. Lu Changtian's style of doing things was to act immediately. He didn't like to drag things out. Chapter 1058. Since he had made up his mind, Lu Changtian did not hesitate. However, when he thought of the things that Lin Rui had left for him, his heart burned with passion. He turned his head to Huiyun and said, Grand Mistress, please wait for me for a while. I must go with the things that Master left for me. Please bear with me. Lu Changtian was negotiating. He did not dare to show any disrespect to Huiyun. He did not even dare to speak loudly. As for Lu Changtian's request, Huiyun nodded and agreed without hesitation. Go ahead. I'll wait for you here. Oh, okay. I'll be back soon. As he spoke, he turned his head to look at Long Ming and the others. Long Ming was the one who worried him the most. After all, Long Ming was a true martial king expert. Huiyun could not defeat him. He did not trust Long Ming's character. After all, he was here to destroy the Lin family. He was afraid that once he left, Long Ming would take the opportunity to kidnap Huiyun. At that time, not only Long Ming, but even he would not be able to escape from Lin Rui's hands. You, wait here while I'm away. I don't care if you believe me or not. If you dare to touch a single finger of hers, or even kidnap her, then not only your Long family, but even the power behind you will only end up dead. Of course, you can choose not to believe me. Otherwise, you can try. However, I'm looking forward to that scene. Tsk, tisk, as he spoke, a tyrannical aura emerged from Lu Changtian's body. I'm really looking forward to it. Blood and the Azura battlefield complement each other. When Lu Changtian's words fell into the ears of Long Ming and the others, it was undoubtedly the Grim Reaper waving at them. He did not dare. Just based on the information he had heard along the way, he could tell that Lu Changtian's master seemed to be very powerful. He was even more powerful than the martial god. He could not afford to offend such a powerful existence. Even the Long family could not afford to offend him. As for the power behind him, he believed that once this happened, they would run away faster than a rabbit. As for him, he would become a useless chess piece of the opponent's phone. So, He listened carefully to Lu Changtian's warning. Don't worry, I won't, even if it's for my own life. He nodded heavily and promised. However, before Lu Changtian spoke, he did consider kidnapping Huiyun, but now, it was possible to play a borderline game, but the prerequisite was that you had to have the ability to play a borderline game. Otherwise, playing a borderline game was just courting death. Well, it's good that you understand. He nodded. Looking at the fear in Long Ming's eyes, he understood that his words had worked. Now, it was time for him to leave. Grand Mistress, I'm leaving. Please be careful. Before leaving, Lu Changtian didn't forget to remind Huiyun. After all, one had to be wary of others. Anything was possible. What if Long Ming was desperate enough to kidnap Huiyun? Well, don't worry. Huiyun nodded. She wasn't that stupid. After all, she had been on the battlefield before, and she knew that people's hearts were sinister. Okay. After everything was settled, Lu Changtian leaped up with peace of mind. He instantly executed the butterfly steps to the extreme. His entire body turned into an afterimage and disappeared from the entrance of the Divine Valley. Heavens, who on earth is this person? He's so young, but his cultivation level is so astonishing. Looking at Lu Changtian's departing figure, he really couldn't imagine how someone younger than him could have such a shocking cultivation level. What made it even more difficult for him to imagine and even more curious was what level of cultivation the person who was Lu Changtian's master was at. At this moment, Lin Rui, who was eating in Su Yin City, didn't know that Lu Changtian wasn't going back. Moreover, he had brought his mother with him. If he knew, Lin Rui probably wouldn't be able to sit still right now. In a restaurant in Su Yin City, Lin Rui touched his mouth, took a sip of wine, and burped. A satisfied smile appeared on his face. Leaning back in his chair, he reached out and touched his full stomach. His mood improved a lot. Are you full? Of course, he wasn't asking Yu Ling, but the blood dragon in front of her, Shueling Tian. I'm full, but what? Lin Rui was a little curious about Shueling Tian's but it's a little bad. It's not as good as what you make. Especially this wine, it's disgusting. As he said that, he stuck out his tongue with a look of disgust, as if he wanted to spit out the wine he had drunk. Pfft, ha ha ha, Lin Rui laughed. It was hard for him not to laugh at Shueling Tian's words. What did he mean by, especially this wine? Big brother, you've never drunk this wine before. A person who had never drunk wine wouldn't understand the beauty of this wine. Of course, Lin Rui didn't explain. After all, it was hard to explain. Some people loved it, while others hated it. It was just a personal preference. Stop laughing. Lin Li's smile caused Blood Lingtian's face to change. He then turned his head to look at Feather Spirit, who was seated next to him. He didn't have any good feelings towards this woman at all, especially that little girl who had been so chatty and aggressive earlier. If it were the same, perhaps she would have become his meal. Of course, it was different now. Without Lin Rui's permission, he would eat her. What a joke. Lin Rui would kill him. What do you intend to do with this woman? Her. Upon hearing Shueling Tian's words, Lin Rui looked up at Yu Ling. He was free to deal with this woman now. In response to Lin Rui's sudden gaze, Yu Ling's heart pounded non-stop. She was nervous and afraid. Her emotions were extremely complicated. You are sick. Yu Ling. The little girl was speechless. Shueling Tian, Lin Rui's sudden words made the three of them speechless. What did he mean by sick? Of course, Lin Rui understood this sentence. After all, he was a pill refiner who had entered the Saint Realm. From the first time he saw Yu Ling, he could tell that Yu Ling was indeed sick. Moreover, it wasn't a small illness. If it wasn't treated in time, she wouldn't be able to live past 25 years old. You are sick. Once again, Lin Rui looked at Yu Ling seriously. He didn't say it for no reason. Just treat it as compensation for bumping into her. Of course, it couldn't be guaranteed that he was good-looking. What do you mean? How is my young lady sick? You are really... The little girl couldn't help but speak up. But she regretted it immediately. She carefully looked up at Lin Ray's expression. When she saw that Lin Ray's expression didn't change, she felt relieved. Lin Ray didn't take the little girl's words to heart. After all, if it was him, he would say the same thing. You are really sick. Moreover, your illness won't let you live past 25 years old. It's up to you to believe it or not. This time, Lin Ray was very serious. When Yuling saw this scene, her heart trembled violently. She somewhat believed what he said. Chapter 1059. I can cure your illness. Yuling wanted to say something, but as soon as the words came out, it was as if they were blocked by something, making him unable to open his mouth. Seeing Yuling's hesitation, Lin Ray continued patiently, your illness is very troublesome, and I happen to dislike troublesome things. If I hadn't bumped into you before, I'm afraid that even if you begged me, I wouldn't have helped you. As soon as these words came out, Yuling and the little girl's expressions changed, and their expressions turned ugly. However, Lin Ray's words were true. If it weren't for the previous cause, how could there be the present effect? If the group of people in the celestial realm knew about this, they would probably pay a huge price to buy this opportunity from Yuling. One must know that the power of a saint-grade pill was immeasurable. If one could obtain the pill to break through to the next realm, breaking through to the saint grade would be just around the corner. What do you want? Yuling finally spoke. It's very simple. I'll cure your illness, but the prerequisite is that you provide the medicinal ingredients. After all, I didn't bring anything with me. Okay. Yuling agreed without hesitation. Although she wasn't sure if she was really sick, she couldn't help but believe the man in front of her when she saw how serious he was. Okay. Lin Ray nodded, and then continued, your illness is a congenital disease, so the medicinal ingredients you need are very rare. I believe that with your family's status in Void Chant City, you should be able to find them. As he spoke, Lin Ray took out a piece of paper from nowhere and raised his hand to write on it. Pfft! A burst of laughter entered the ears of everyone present, especially the blood dragon Shueling Tian. He was very familiar with this laughter. Wasn't this the little girl who was chattering non-stop just now? He admired the little girl very much. After all, if this happened to him, he wouldn't dare to laugh out loud. Although Lin Ray's strength was not bad, the cultivation of the 9 azure dragons was not to be trifled with. You're awesome. Shueling Tian nodded to the little girl, and then lay on the table without even lifting his eyelids. Sleepiness engulfed him. Let's sleep for a while. It seems Lin Ray still needs a while to finish. Thinking this, he closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep. Lin Ray was helpless at the blood spirit sky's behavior. It was King Ruin. All it knew was to eat and sleep and eat. It didn't dare to do anything. Even he couldn't afford to raise this guy. Sir, you don't have a pen. What's the use of writing on it? Out of curiosity, Yuling couldn't help but ask. Her question was exactly what the little girl who laughed just now was thinking. This was also the reason why he laughed. You'll know whether it's useful or not soon enough. Without raising his head, Zhang Xian continued moving his fingers gracefully, creating a pleasing sight. Time passed, bit by bit. After a short minute, Linley's hands paused. He handed the paper over to Yuling, and then with a wave of his hand, words appeared on the previously blank paper. The flamboyant handwriting was the work of a master. The appearance of this scene stunned Yuling. She clearly didn't see any pen in Lin Ray's hand, but now's not the time to be shocked. You have to find everything on the paper for me. Otherwise, your illness can't be cured. Believe me, I'm the only one who can cure your illness. Others, Oh, no, I should say that in the entire Destiny realm, I'm the only one who can see that you're sick. Others? Heh. A laugh replaced the meaning he wanted to express. Lin Ray wasn't exaggerating, but telling the truth. Sir, don't worry. He reached out and picked up the paper on the table. His entire body was stunned because the paper felt as if there was nothing there. It was very thin. Okay, you can go now. If you find the herbs on the paper, you can come here to find me. Remember, I'll only give you 3 days. If you don't come in 3 days, I'll leave this place. As for whether you can find me in the future, that's another story. Yes, I'll go now. Hearing this, Yuling didn't care about the thickness of the paper. Her entire body tensed up, and she rushed out with her cultivation. The little girl's cultivation wasn't as good as Yuling's, but she quickly disappeared from Lin Ray's sight. Sigh. I hope you can find it, but... When he thought of one of the herbs in the prescription, Lin Ray's face showed a bitter smile. Tian Xingzi, he often saw this herb in the immortal realm, but he couldn't guarantee it in the destiny realm. After all, it was convenient in the immortal realm. He wasn't sure if it was here. He let out a long sigh. As for Yuling's illness, he hid it. Innate meridians. If he was in the immortal realm, he might be able to do something if he was at his peak. But now, his cultivation was only so little. To completely cure her innate meridians, there was no doubt that it was a dream. But if it was suppressed, it might be possible. For example, the prescription just now could temporarily suppress the innate meridians. Although the suppression time was a little short, it could still let her live a peaceful life. Thinking of this, he lowered his head and looked at the sleeping Tian. His whole body felt unwell. You bastard, I was busy, but you actually fell asleep. With that thought in mind, he slapped Tian on the head. Bang! A loud sound rang out. The sound was so loud that it attracted the attention of the surrounding people. Ah, a miserable cry rang out in Lin Ray's mind. Lin Ray ignored the surrounding people's gazes. Looking at Tian, his face became uglier and uglier. Did you sleep well? Do you want me to get Sung Long to give you a massage? This, Blood Tian, who had been screaming in pain, suddenly stopped. He sat there quietly on the table, staring at Linley with his 2 watery little eyes. He had a look on his face that said, I know I was wrong. Humph, with a cold snort, she stood up. I'll let it go this time. Next time, see if I don't kill you. I haven't eaten the flesh of a blood flood dragon yet. If you don't mind, I don't. Before Lin Ray could finish his words, Tian directly refused. I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. I promise that before you sleep, I won't sleep. As she spoke, she raised her little tail as if she was swearing an oath. She looked very cute. Ignoring Tian, she went to the counter and asked the owner for a room. Then, she walked towards her room. At this moment, in the Void Chant City's City Lord's house, Yuling received the medicine and rushed back home. She had no choice but to follow. Although she was still far away from her 20s, but who would have a knife hanging on her neck that could take her life at any time? Especially for her, who lived like a princess, she was even more unwilling to die. Chapter 1060. You family, Yuling went to find her father as soon as she returned home. As the city lord, he was the only one who could mobilize the full force of the family. In the main hall of the city lord's mansion, Yu Tiancheng listened to his daughter Yuling narrate the entire process of her meeting with Lin Ray. Yu Tiancheng's expression turned gloomy as fear flashed in his eyes. Yes, fear. The fear of the unknown power. From the moment he heard that a single glance was enough to make everyone vomit blood, he didn't have the slightest ability to do such a thing. Father, do you think what that person said is true? Yuling asked. Until now, she still didn't believe it. It should be true. After all, there is no need for such an existence to lie to you, right? Hearing this, Yuling's heart skipped a beat as her face turned pale. Then what should we do? I have never heard of these herbs before. They aren't even in some ancient books. As for these medicines, she had heard of most of them, but she had never even heard of some of them, let alone seen them. Oh, hearing his daughter's words, Enchanting was startled. Bring them over for me to take a look. I will send someone to pass down the order. Within 3 days, I will definitely find all of these herbs. That's great, that's great. Receiving her father's affirmation, Yuling revealed a smile on her face. However, she frowned slightly with a trace of worry hidden within. Seeing this scene, Enchanting's heart tightened. He loved this daughter the most in his life. No matter what she wanted, as long as he could do it, he would definitely get it for her. Even if he couldn't do it, he would do his best. Although the end result wasn't satisfactory, this fatherly love was still there. Alright, you can leave first. Have a good rest for the next few days. I will invite a very, very good pharmacist over later. Although that person has confirmed it, we still have to take a look. If we still can't figure it out, we will follow that person's method. I understand, father. Yuling understood that her father was doing this because he was afraid of encountering a swindler. This was also the problem she was worried about. Go. In the restaurant, Lin Rei didn't know that the father and daughter of the Yu family were still full of doubts about his diagnosis. Lin Rei didn't know about this. Of course, even if he knew, it wouldn't matter. After all, he wouldn't see them again in the future. In the room, Lin Rei sat cross-legged on the bed. The spiritual energy within a radius of 10,000 miles was under the control of Lin Rei, slowly rushing into his body. The instant his dried-up meridians felt the spiritual energy, it was as if he had encountered sweet dew after a long time. His body became very smooth. If not for Lin Rei restraining himself, he might have already moaned out loud. At the side, Shuelingtian looked at his master in disdain. Uf***ker. If I were to cultivate with you, what the f***ck would I cultivate for? Every time you cultivate, it's the same. You devour all the surrounding spiritual energy in an instant. I really don't know what kind of thing you are. Your cultivation technique is actually so powerful. Sensing that there was no trace of spirit qi left in the surroundings, Shuelingtian felt extremely displeased. Why don't I snatch some from him? As soon as this thought appeared, he immediately suppressed it. No. No way. If I do that, it'll be tantamount to snatching food from the tiger's mouth. Who knows, I might not even get the spiritual energy and end up being beaten up by this fellow. As he thought about it, his body trembled. He couldn't help but lower his head helplessly. He went to a corner of the bed and stopped thinking about it. Closing his eyes, he began to comprehend the inherited memories in his mind. Without spiritual energy, the only thing he could cultivate was the inheritance in his mind. Time passed quickly. The red sun in the sky gradually set. Not only did it disappear, but it was also replaced by dark clouds. The entire sky turned dark. At night, a chill swept through every part of the body on the streets. For some reason, the night in Void Chant City was particularly strange. Wang. A vibration came from his clothes. Lin Rei, who was cultivating, thought that it was an illusion, so he ignored it. Although he couldn't return to the God world through cultivation, as a Saint Realm Array master, as long as his cultivation reached the required level, returning to the holy world would be a piece of cake. Wang Wang, another 2 vibrations came from his clothes. This time, Lin Rei felt it clearly. He didn't hesitate at all. What's going on? He was puzzled. His tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. 2 rays of light flashed through his eyes. His consciousness didn't feel sleepy at all. Those vibrations just now were. Thinking about it, he lowered his head and looked at his clothes with doubt. He saw a palm-sized golden coffin lying there quietly. It was as if nothing had happened. There were no vibrations like before. Holy shit, the strange feeling disappeared. Lin Rei was still confused. However, he was sure that the vibrations came from his clothes. At this moment, there was only the small golden coffin in his clothes. Thinking of this, an idea appeared in his mind. He closed his eyes again and circulated his cultivation. Following that, a miraculous scene appeared again. Wang wang. The vibrations came again. This time, Lin Rei was very sure that the vibrations came from the small golden coffin. "Heh, little thing. Watch how I catch you." As he spoke, he released his divine sense. As he released it, he circulated his cultivation technique. He was afraid that if his cultivation technique was interrupted, the vibrations would disappear again. Wang wang. The vibrations kept coming. Chapter 1061. What exactly are you? He was very puzzled, but the thing that made Lin Li happy was that he no longer needed to worry about the spiritual energy of heaven and earth that he had been worrying about. Although the vibration came from the cultivation method, as long as he continued to operate the cultivation method, the little golden coffin would continue to vibrate. Devouring heaven art, now is the time to experience your value. Although the vibration and the speed of the fusion were very fast, as long as he had the devouring heaven art, it wouldn't be a problem. Once he thought about it, he immediately acted. The cultivation technique never stopped circulating, and the sound of the vibration never stopped. Buzz buzz, hoo, just as the little golden coffin vibrated twice, a crack suddenly appeared in the coffin. In Lin Rei's consciousness, the crack really split open. Regarding this, Lin Rei didn't hesitate at all. He instantly used the devouring heaven art, and a devouring force appeared around the small golden coffin. Suddenly, a scene that made Lin Rei excited appeared. The overflowing spiritual energy appeared again, and it was being pulled out by his devouring heaven art. If this spiritual energy is enough to support my cultivation until the heavenly tribulation, then as long as I don't use the teleportation array, I hope I can return to the divine world faster. Of course, as soon as this idea appeared in Lin Li's mind, he felt that it was a bit unrealistic. Lin Li took a quick look at this place. This should be the very edge of the entire system. If he wanted to go back, he would need more than 100 years. Hiss. Lin Rei sucked in a breath of cold air, and a satisfied expression appeared on Lin Rei's face. In Lin Rei's eyes, his withered meridians in his Dan Palace were being nourished by a large amount of water. This feeling was very good, very good. Come, let's do this. Lin Rei didn't reject the spiritual energy. As for the fact that his cultivation was too fast, he was afraid that his cultivation realm would be unstable. Sorry, this didn't exist for Lin Rei. Lin Rei's cultivation realm had already reached the Saint realm. So, as long as there was enough spiritual energy to support Lin Rei's cultivation, it wouldn't be a problem for him to instantly reach the Earth Immortal realm. Were they afraid of the appearance of their inner demons? What a joke! How could that be possible? As long as it wasn't a special existence, it was impossible for the primal chaos heavenly scripture to produce inner demons. Unless one broke through to that level, otherwise, pop. The sound of a bubble bursting resounded from Lin Rei's body. Suddenly, a terrifying aura crazily gushed out from Lin Rei's body. Wang, perhaps it was because he had improved his cultivation, or perhaps it was because he was happy, or perhaps it was because he had a chance to go back. Lin Rei didn't restrain himself after he broke through. With him as the center, the pressure brought by the breakthrough instantly pressed down on the entire restaurant. Bam bam, everyone in the restaurant, be it ordinary people or martial cultivators, had been enjoying their meal. However, before they knew it, a terrifying pressure appeared and pressed them to the ground, making them unable to move. Ordinary people didn't know what was going on, but martial cultivators were very clear that this was an aura. Of course, in the eyes of martial cultivators, this was the aura of an expert, but in Lin Rei's eyes, it was indeed a pressure. To explain, coercion was not the same as aura. It was just that the two had the same function. In fact, it could also be said that coercion was an advanced version of aura. Expert, this restaurant definitely has an expert. His friend. He rolled his eyes at his friend. What's going on? Why is it like this? I can't get up. Mom, I'm scared, woo-woo. At this moment, the entire restaurant was filled with crying, shock, surprise, doubt, fear, and all kinds of expressions. Of course, Lin Ray didn't know about any of these. At this moment, Lin Ray was immersed in the excitement of breaking through. A gust of wind suddenly appeared out of nowhere next to Linley. Because the items in the room were unable to withstand the force of the gust of wind, everything in the room was in complete disarray, as though it had just been plundered by a thief. Early stage of Anidia. His red lips moved slightly as he said his current realm. His closed eyes opened and a golden light flashed past. Lowering his head, he raised his hand and clenched his fist. A familiar energy flowed through his body. Noon. I've finally returned to Anidia. It's really not easy. If these words were heard by the people of the Xuanzong sect in the divine world, they would probably think that there was something wrong with his head. After all, in the eyes of the Xuanzong sect, Lin Ray was a godlike existence. No matter what time it was, Lin Ray was the pillar in the hearts of the people of the Xuanzong sect. However, they didn't know that the pillar in their hearts was now living such a miserable life. Crack, crack. Lin Ray didn't continue to cultivate. Although it wouldn't create an inner demon, and it wouldn't cause instability in his realm due to his fast cultivation speed, after all, more haste less speed. Moreover, he could feel that the spiritual energy gushing out from the crack seemed to be a little weaker. Lin Ray was very afraid of this phenomenon. He was afraid that the spiritual energy would suddenly disappear one day. When he got up, a bone-rattling sound that made his whole body go numb was heard. After moving his body for a long time, he felt that his body was much more relaxed than before. He couldn't help but smile. If I can continue like this, I believe that breaking through to the divine realm and even recovering to my peak won't be a problem. Of course, thinking about it was beautiful, but reality was indeed cruel. In his previous life, his physical body was so strong that even he had a headache. Now, although this physical body wasn't indestructible, he would be thankful if he didn't break it in battle. Looking up, Lin Ray saw the dark winter outside the window. He was stunned. So I've been cultivating for such a long time. As the saying goes, time flies when cultivating in the mountains. As a cultivator, he should have been used to this situation for a long time. However, after becoming an ordinary person, he didn't know why he felt a little jealous when he saw time passing so quickly. Breakthrough. At this moment, the voice of the blood spirit sky sounded in Lin Ray's mind. There was a tremor in the voice. It wasn't just fear. Breakthrough. When are we leaving? I'm tired of staying here. I want to change places. The blood spirit sky was indeed tired of staying here. After all, he had always lived in the mountains. Now that he had suddenly come to a city to rest, he was more or less not used to it. Lin Ray nodded helplessly. 2 or 3 days. After these 2 or 3 days, we'll leave. When the time comes, I'll take you wherever you want to go. What do you think? All right, that's what you said. The blood spirit sky was very serious about Lin Ray's promise. All right, hurry up and cultivate. He smiled and waved his hand to dismiss the blood spirit sky. Chapter 1062. Time passed bit by bit. In these 3 days, Lin Ray had been cultivating every day. After all, he had a source of spiritual energy. After 3 days of cultivation and observation of the little golden coffin, he discovered something. Whenever the spiritual energy was about to dry up, he would stop cultivating and wait until the next day to recover. Lin Rei was excited about this. After all, the spiritual energy wouldn't disappear along with his cultivation. Just this point alone was enough to make him excited. Today was the appointed time between him and Yuling. Today, as long as Yuling didn't appear or didn't collect the herbs, he wouldn't stay here for even a minute. He would directly leave with Xue Lingtian. As a former saint-level alchemist, how could he not care about his reputation? If he had to wait in the divine world to refine a pill for someone, the threshold would be crowded. After waking up from his training, the nearby blood spirit sky woke up as well. Perhaps because it had sensed Linley's presence, it had woken up as well. Awake? Xue Lingtian was already used to Lin Rei's indifferent question. Today is the third day. If you don't come today, I know. If you don't come today, we will leave. Lin Rei promised. Xue Lingtian nodded and then closed his eyes again. It was unknown if he was cultivating or not. Seeing Xue Lingtian like this, Lin Rei didn't pay attention to him. He got up, patted his wrinkled clothes, opened the door, and walked out. Early in the morning, it was the time for some people to come out and do some activities. For example, peddlers, or beggars. No matter where one was, beggars would always exist. Even in a world where there was no war, beggars would still appear, let alone in a place like the Destiny world where there was still a monarch system. At this time, it was the time for them to come out and look for food. Because every morning, there would be some people who would throw away some rotten leaves or leftovers from the day before. A 7 or 8-year-old boy, dressed in tattered clothes and emitting a strange smell, had come in from who knows where, and was currently in the kitchen of the restaurant Linley was in. At this moment, there was no one in the kitchen, but the table was already filled with food. Of course, it was not hot, but leftovers from yesterday. There was everything: chicken, duck, fish, and even some demonic beast meat. Looking at these things, the little boy couldn't help but reach out and grab a chicken leg and stuff it into his mouth. No way. Just as the drumstick was about to reach his mouth, the oil on the drumstick seeped into the boy's lips. But at that moment, the boy stopped. My little sister is still waiting at home, Looking at the dishes on the table, the little boy's expression became firm. He took out a particularly clean piece of white cloth that did not match his clothes at all. Putting the white cloth on the table, he took a chicken and fish, and asked some cultivators to take some steamed buns from the steamer. Then, he picked them up and stuffed them into his arms, turned around, and walked out. However, coincidentally or not, at this moment, Lin Rei wandered to the backyard for some reason. Just as Lin Rei continued to wander forward, a little boy in tattered clothes rushed out of a room with a flustered expression. His head kept sweeping around as if he was afraid of being discovered. Hee, interesting. The little boy's behavior attracted Lin Rei's attention. Although he didn't know why the little boy was like this, he knew that the little boy didn't live here by looking at his clothes. Perhaps it was because the little boy had piqued Linley's interest, but as soon as the little boy left, Linley, for some strange reason, followed him. In this regard, the little boy running forward didn't know that he had been followed. But fortunately, it was Lin Rei who followed. If it was the people in the restaurant, I'm afraid the little boy wouldn't be able to survive. Along the way, the little boy quietly looked for a remote place without people. Lin Rei understood that he was afraid of being discovered. Following all the way through the bustling place, Lin Rei didn't know how long the little boy ran for, but he finally came to a particularly barren place. It could be said that there was no vitality here. Even some weeds were unwilling to grow here. Looking at the dilapidated houses around as if no one had lived here for a long time, Lin Rei frowned, but he still followed. In a house with only one room left, the little boy hurriedly walked into the room and closed the door. It seemed that he was unwilling to be discovered by others. After entering the room, he still locked the door. This little boy's mind is like this. If it was an ordinary person, it was impossible to do this series of actions. Without approaching, he instantly released his divine sense. Suddenly, the situation in the room appeared in his mind. At this moment, in the room, a 3-year-old little girl was lying on the tattered bed. After the little boy came back, he made all the preparations and finally came to the little girl's side. Looking at the little girl who was still sleeping soundly on the bed, the little boy smiled. "You little girl, you don't know how to worry at your age." Looking at his little sister, the little boy smiled bitterly. "But it's good that you don't have to worry. This way, you can grow up happily and don't have to worry about those trivial things. As for those trivial things, leave them to me. I will protect you." Saying that, he reached out and patted his little sister's head. From his bosom, he took out the food he stole from the restaurant and placed it on the broken table. Creak, creak, creak. The moment the little boy placed the food on the table shook and made a hair-raising sound, as if it would collapse at any time. Meat. In the dream, the little girl smelled the aroma of meat and instinctively opened her eyes. Her sleepy eyes were very cute, but because of the tattered clothes, it was a little unique. However, it had to be said that the little boy cared about his little sister very much. Because the little girl's face was not as dirty as his, but very clean, surprisingly clean. Even her clothes were the same. Although they were tattered, they were very clean. In this regard, Lin Rei looked at the little boy in a new light, especially now. Dusty memories came to his mind. Xianyuan, you were just like him back then. For the sake of your loved ones, you did not hesitate to be beaten, scolded, and even face the danger of death. Yes, we were born as humans and cultivate to become gods. Naturally, we should protect our friends and family, and not let them come to any harm. Isn't cultivation to have the ability to protect the people you want to protect? Isn't cultivation to pursue a higher realm? Isn't cultivation to break through the Tao and achieve eternity? Chapter 1063. Boom, a rumbling sound that only Lin Rei could hear was heard. At this moment, Lin Rei seemed to have merged with nature. His aura rose to its peak. He lowered his head and looked at the room where the boy was. A smile flashed across his face. I didn't expect to break through in this low-level plane. This was something that Lin Rei didn't expect. He didn't expect to break through in this place. In his opinion, as long as he could return to his peak, he would be very satisfied. In the void, a man was sitting cross-legged and cultivating. At this moment, the wind and clouds in the sky changed. This phenomenon attracted the man's attention. He opened his eyes and looked at the changing wind and clouds. His face was filled with shock. Great Tao? Who can comprehend the great Tao here? He was shocked and in disbelief. He didn't expect to meet someone who could comprehend the great Tao in this low-level plane every year. This won't do. I must take this person for my own use. Lin Rei would definitely recognize this man if he saw him here. This man was the Tendo of the Destiny world. He was also the person who promised Lin Rei to hide and search for spirit chi. As he thought about this, he stood up and circulated his cultivation. His figure faded and disappeared in the void. In the barren land of Shuyin City, Lin Rei recovered from his joy. His consciousness continued to look at the room. The little girl had already gotten up and came to the boy's side. Brother, can we eat now? The little girl's voice was very pleasant. Coupled with her small appearance and short body, she looked very cute. And, eat quickly. Seeing his sister coming, the boy smiled. The previous worry was perfectly hidden in his heart. He smiled at her, took a drumstick, and handed it to the little girl. As for himself, he also picked up the staple food that looked like a steamed bun and ate it. In his opinion, the meat was left for his sister. After all, she was still growing and couldn't lack nutrition. As for himself, it didn't matter as long as he was full. Seeing the two of them like this, Lin Rei smiled. Then, he withdrew his consciousness and planned to leave. Dong! Someone knocked on the door from behind, and a young man and 4 or 5 other people, all dressed like the boy, were knocking on the boy's door. They were all dirty and tattered. "Brat, I know you're inside. Hurry up and open the door, or I'll smash it." "Brother, I'm scared." In the room, the little girl was originally very happy because there was food to eat. However, when she heard this voice, she was so scared that she curled up at the foot of the bed. She didn't even put the drumstick into her mouth. Instead, she just grabbed it. Her whole body couldn't stop trembling. She was so scared, bastard. Sensing his sister's strange behavior, a fierce glint flashed in the boy's eyes. He whispered softly. The thing he couldn't bear to see the most was his sister being scared and hurt, but now, touching a dragon's reverse scale meant certain death. His little sister was the boy's reverse scale. Now that his reverse scale had been touched, those people outside had already entered the boy's hate list. However, this hatred only flashed for a moment. It didn't disappear, but was perfectly hidden by the boy. He knew who was knocking on the door, and he also knew that he wasn't a match for the other party. Therefore, this was not the right time for this hatred to appear. It wasn't that he didn't want to take revenge, but it wasn't the right time. Now, this hatred could only be hidden deep in his heart. When the time was right, this hatred would be released like a wild beast. Lin Rei, who was about to turn and leave, heard the voice behind him. Then, the thought of leaving disappeared. He returned to the place where he was before and released his consciousness to check the room. The scene completely appeared in Lin Rei's mind. As for the young man who brought a group of people, looking at his aggressive appearance, he frowned slightly. He knew in his heart that he was looking for trouble. Jia. The door opened. The little boy looked at the 6 people at the door with a frightened expression. "Boss, I don't know why you're here." Slap. Before the boy could finish his words, a slap had already arrived in front of him. In the end, he could only watch as the slap landed on his face. The sound of the slap was very loud and clear. A burning sensation appeared on the boy's face. He didn't cry, but the hatred in his heart deepened. "Little bastard, I heard that you got something delicious." As he spoke, he nodded to the people at the side. The man who understood tacitly nodded. He walked around the boy and entered the room. The layout of the room was very simple, so the man saw the existence of the food at a glance. Not bad. Meat. In this barren place, meat was a rare thing. Some people couldn't even see meat for a year. Like the man, when he saw the meat, a green light flashed in his eyes. He reached out and picked up the meat and walked out of the door. The girl cared a lot about the meat. Seeing her food being taken away, the girl was unwilling. The fear from before disappeared under the influence of hunger. Don't touch my brother's things." Hearing the voice, the man stopped and looked at the little girl who was huddled at the foot of the bed. A trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. "Oh, delicious meat." As he spoke, he stepped in front of the girl and reached out to snatch the meat. Then, he slapped the girl. "Bastard." Lin Rei, who was observing, couldn't help but release his cultivation when he saw that the man was so ruthless. He didn't even let a 2 to 3 years old child go. He rushed into the room with his fastest speed and hugged the girl. Then, he reached out and grabbed the man by the neck. "Little friend, you should know when to stop. Do you understand?" As he spoke, he used a bit of strength and killing intent flashed. He couldn't breathe properly and his heart was filled with fear. He didn't know how the person in front of him appeared and he didn't know how he was subdued. However, he knew that only martial cultivators could do this. Martial cultivators had a very high status in the Destiny world. Therefore, when they saw Lin Rei's fingerprints, they were stunned. Looking at the man, Lin Rei carried him and the little girl out of the room. You are, outside the door." Everyone was stunned when they saw Lin Rei choking the man and carrying the little girl. Only the little boy didn't care about Lin Rei when he saw his sister. He walked to Lin Rei's side and took his sister from Lin Rei's arms. Then, he looked around to see if his sister was injured or not. Phew, fortunately, she's fine. After checking and seeing that his sister was fine, the little boy was relieved. At this moment, he thought of Lin Rei. He wasn't stupid. Although he didn't know how Lin Rei got in, he knew that he must have saved his sister. Thinking of this, he didn't say anything and bowed deeply to Lin Rei. Thank you for saving my sister. Chapter 1064. Lin Rei did not want to get too close to the boy. It was already good enough that he helped him. After all, there were too many people like him in this world. Lin Rei did not feel that he was a good person. He would not come over to such a person. Turning his head to look at the man, the murderous intent in Lin Li's eyes grew more and more intense. I'll let you off this time, but that doesn't mean I won't have such a good opportunity in the future. After saying that, he waved his hand and the man in his hand was thrown 100 meters away. As for whether he was alive or not, he did not care. He was already being merciful by letting them go. If he was alive, it meant that he was lucky. If he was dead, it meant that his luck was a bit bad. Seeing his brother being thrown away like a dead dog, the leader subconsciously wanted to say something. However, when he thought of Lin Rei's existence, he forcefully swallowed the words he wanted to say. Can I go now? Lowering his head, he did not dare to look at Lin Rei. His entire body was trembling and his face was pale. The pitiful leader was scared out of his wits. As for the subordinates behind the leader, they were so scared that they did not dare to say anything. They almost fainted. Scram! Do not appear here again. If I find you, your ending will be the same as that house. Raising his hand, a surge of spirit energy rushed out. Boom! As they spoke, they looked in the direction Lin Rei pointed. They saw that the house that was originally fine suddenly exploded. What shocked them even more was that what came down was not what they had imagined. Instead, the entire house turned into fine powder and scattered on the ground. We understand. We understand. His legs defecated. After promising, he turned around and wanted to leave. However, he was wrong. He was so scared that he had no strength left. Furthermore, he could feel a chill in his crotch. Needless to say, he knew that he was so scared that he lost control of his bladder. However, the man did not feel that he had lost face. At this moment, he only had one thought. That was to leave this place. Leave this demon's side and go to a place where he did not exist. Lin Rei did not pay any attention to this group of people. He carried the little girl and turned around to return to the room. As for the boy, he did not conceal his hatred. He glanced at the group of people and did not think much about it. He returned to the room. Dong! The little boy closed the door and tiptoed to his little sister's side. He was also afraid of Lin Rei, but he knew that this terrifying man in front of him was not a threat to him and his little sister. Thank you. Thank you for being willing to save my little sister. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid that today, my little sister and I would have. Speaking up to this point, sadness emerged. The little girl lowered her head, not knowing what to do. She knew that today's matter was very frightening, but for some reason, Lin Rei's existence made her feel very at ease. As for Lin Rei, he plopped down on the ground. He didn't mind the dirt at all. Looking at the two of them, he retracted his killing intent and smiled. It's nothing. I was just passing by today. Furthermore, The boy raised his head and looked at Lin Rei. His puzzled gaze stunned Lin Rei. You have to understand that I just happened to pass by this time. What about next time? What if I didn't pass by this time? The little boy didn't know how to answer Lin Rei's question. He understood that if Ruo Lin didn't pass by today, he and his little sister would definitely suffer today. Little boy, this world is far more cruel than you think. After a while, it seemed that the following words were a bit cruel, but he still said it. I know that you have hatred in your heart, but you have to remember that in this world, if you don't kill others, others will come and kill you. Only when you become strong can you protect the people you want to protect. Furthermore, blindly giving in will only increase the arrogance of those who bully you. This way, they will be even more unscrupulous towards you. Lin Rei's words made the little boy nod his head. I understand. It's good that you understand. His gaze swept the surroundings. Looking at the 4 bare walls of the house, he subconsciously said, "Where are your parents?" They. After saying this, Lin Rei felt a bit of regret. That's right, for the 2 of them to fall to this state, they naturally didn't have parents. If they had parents, the scene of him stealing things wouldn't have happened. As for the little boy, when he heard Lin Rei's question, his body trembled and his face turned pale. He clenched his teeth and tears flowed down uncontrollably. The hatred in his eyes couldn't be concealed. The hatred in this little boy's heart is so strong. I really don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. Feeling the hatred in the boy's heart, Lin Rei bitterly smiled and shook his head. Big brother, our parents were killed by, alright, little sister, let me say it. As if he was afraid that his little sister would be sad, the boy hurriedly said, our parents were killed a year ago. Our house was also taken over, so, who are the enemies? Are you with them? For some reason, Lin Rei felt that there was something wrong with his brain. His parents were dead and his house was taken over. It would be strange if he didn't have hatred. City Lord Yu Tiancheng. It's the City Lord, Yu Tiancheng. My parents were killed by Yu Tiancheng because they accidentally bumped into their caravan. Because of that, they sent people to harm my parents. Without my parents in the family, the clansmen unscrupulously took over the entire family for themselves. My sister and I had no place to stay, so we ended up here. I originally thought that everything could be left unsettled, but I didn't expect that we would still be bullied here. As he spoke, the boy clenched his fists and his body trembled non-stop. It could be seen that the boy's heart was filled with hatred. As for the boy's words, Lin Rei seemed to have captured a piece of information. Yu Tiancheng? His surname is Yu? That's right, wasn't the surname of the person he bumped into in the blanket not Yu? Then could there be some kind of connection between the 2 of them? When this thought appeared, his face instantly turned cold. Does Yu Tiancheng have a daughter? Yes, he has a daughter. Her surname is Yu and her name is Ling. She is the apple of his eye. It was because she collided with Yu Ling's carriage that my parents were killed. As expected. After getting the answer he wanted, Lin Rei had a plan in his heart. Although Lin Rei didn't think that he was a good person, he was still very resistant towards this kind of person. In his heart, Lin Rei had already sentenced Yu Ling to death. Treat? What a joke. How could he give his elixir to this kind of person? Wouldn't that taint his elixir? Alright, since you guys are fine, I will leave first. Be careful in the future. Remember my words. If you don't want to be bullied, then become stronger. Only by becoming stronger can you protect the people you want to protect. After speaking, Lin Rei stood up and planned to leave. Since he didn't plan to refine elixir for Yu Ling, there was no reason for him to stay here. Chapter 1065. Plop. Lin Rei turned around and left. The boy was flustered and fell to the ground. He pleaded, Mister, I beg you, please teach me how to not be bullied. I know you're very strong. Other than you, I don't know who else is willing to pay attention to people like me. I beg you. The boy understood that if he missed this opportunity, he would be like this for the rest of his life. After all, with his current status, not to mention learning how to cultivate, it would be a problem for him to not be noticed by others. However, the person in front of him was different. At least in his eyes, a person who was willing to help a stranger would not be a bad person even if he was not a good person. And this was the reason why he knelt down and begged. It was not only for himself, but also to be able to protect the people he wanted to protect. You want me to teach you? Lin Rei did not expect the boy's action. He did not expect the boy to kneel down and beg him. However, Lin Li wouldn't foolishly agree to this boy's request. After all, to be his disciple required talent. And in this low-level plane, even if Lin Li imparted the knowledge to him and allowed him to train, what good would that do? Could he leave with him? Obviously, that was impossible. Even if he cultivated, what could he do? At most, he could show off in this world. Yes, mister, please teach me how to protect my sister. I'm really afraid that today's scene will happen again. I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to become stronger. I want to become stronger. Those words were filled with determination. At this moment, the boy was very determined. He wanted to become stronger. He wanted to become stronger so that others would tremble before him. He wanted to become stronger so that others would not bully him. He wanted to become stronger so that his life would no longer be controlled by others. He wanted to become stronger. If a person had a belief, then that person would have the capital to become stronger. Lin Rei also thought so. Only when a person had a belief and someone he wanted to protect could that person become stronger. If a person did not have a belief, then no matter how much they cultivated, they would only be an ordinary cultivator. Seeing the boy like this, Lin Rei's heartstrings were pulled. However, this was not enough for him to accept him as a disciple, because this boy had some hatred in his heart. Hatred was something that, if used appropriately, would be a good thing. But if used inappropriately, he would instead be hated. If that was the case, then if Lin Li really did take him on as a disciple, he would be harming this boy, and at the same time, putting this low-level plane into a dangerous situation. Similarly, Lin Rei did not think that he was a good person, but at the very least, he was not a bad person. Although this negative karma would not appear on him, he, who had once become a saint, was unwilling to see a domain destroyed. Plop. Lin Rei didn't say anything. When the little girl saw that Lin Rei didn't say anything and her big brother was kneeling on the ground, she didn't know why, but she knelt as well. Dong dong dong. The sound of kowtowing reached Lin Rei's ears. Mister, I beg you, please promise big brother, I beg you. The little girl's actions completely stunned Lin Rei. He didn't expect the little girl to be like this. One had to know that she was only 2 or 3 years old now. Dong dong dong, seeing that his little sister was doing this for him, the boy's face was filled with tears. He kept kowtowing to Lin Rei. Mister, I beg you to help me. I don't want my little sister to be in danger. I beg you. Crying. At this moment, the boy cried. The moment the girl kowtowed, as the big brother, he cried. Since a year ago, he had never cried. Even when he was in pain, he didn't cry. The two's actions undoubtedly put Lin Rei in a difficult position. He was just interested to take a look, but he didn't expect to be involved in such a matter. He thought highly of the boy, but the other party's hatred was something he was afraid of. One had to know what kind of situation it would be if he was hated. As for the little girl, when he saw her, Lin Rei couldn't help but think of his granddaughter. Sigh. Sighing, a look of compromise flashed across his face. He smiled bitterly. You too. As he spoke, he squatted down and helped the two up. Although I don't want to accept disciples in such a low-level plane, but, forget it, let's not talk about it. Then you agree to help us? Hearing this, the boy wasn't stupid. His words were very obvious. No. Lin Rei shook his head. Then. Lin Rei's words disappointed the boy who originally had hope. I have to see how your bone structure is and see if it's suitable for you to practice the cultivation method I'm going to teach you. I have to see if your body is suitable for cultivation. So, before this, everything is just empty talk. When he said this, the disappointed boy rekindled his hope. He nodded heavily. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, Big Brother agreed. The little girl who was still confused at the side saw the smile on her big brother's face. She didn't know why, but she directly jumped up. The innocent look on her face made Lin Ray's heart ache. Especially when he saw the red mark on the little girl's head. It was obvious that it was caused by kowtowing just now. Okay, let's not talk about it anymore. I'd better hurry up and take a look at you. As he spoke, he reached out and placed one hand on the back of the boy and the other hand on the back of the girl. He instantly released his spirit energy and his arms rushed into the bodies of the two people. He released his divine sense and used his spirit energy to explore the bodies of the two people. Accepting disciples was a very important thing, especially when Lin Ray accepted disciples. If they didn't have a bone structure, even if he gave them the cultivation method, what could they do? Lin Ray closed his eyes and explored the situation of the two people's bodies. At this moment, he was very serious. He was afraid that he saw wrongly. After all, his cultivation was still too low. It was obviously impossible for him to explore the body in an instant. Boom! A ball of fiery red flames appeared in front of Linley's eyes, and a scorching aura emanated from that ball of red. This aura was extremely ancient, as though it came from the primordial era, causing Linley's heart to tremble. Damn, it can't be. Feeling this burning aura, Lin Ray's heart was filled with shock and disbelief. He was very familiar with this aura because it was the aura of a spirit root. Fire attributes spirit root, and its top grade. This. In such a low-level plane, to be able to encounter this kind of spirit root was really beyond Lin Ray's expectations. Hua hua, but just as Linley was feeling the scorching heat, a gentle aura suddenly spread out from another direction. This place wasn't like the scorching space from before. This place was a forest, a place filled with life, a place where one couldn't help but want to live. A woo! A dragon roar rushed out from the depths of the forest. The sound was deafening, as if it wanted to break free from this cage. Damn, it can't be. Dragon taming with spirit root? Chapter 1066. The dragon taming wood spiritual root was one of the rarest spiritual roots of the wood attribute. It was no exaggeration to say that the dragon taming wood spiritual root was one of the top 3 wood attribute spiritual roots. Furthermore, the subduing dragon wood spirit root was innately adept at planting spiritual herbs and taking care of the herb farm. Furthermore, those who possessed the wood attribute spirit root would cultivate at an extremely fast speed in the spirit sky. After confirming it over and over again, Lin Ray was certain that the girl had the dragon taming wood spirit root. He opened his eyes and a pair of breathtaking radiance flashed across his eyes. Although he did not want to take in any more disciples, who wouldn't want such a talented disciple? Looking at the girl's eyes, his heart that did not want to interfere had completely changed. As for the boy, although his spirit root was strong as well, but it had not reached the stage where he wanted to take in a disciple. Therefore, Lin Ray could only apologize to the boy. However, he would not treat him unfairly. He would give him a good cultivation technique as an exchange for taking in his sister. As he thought about it, Lin Ray removed his hands from the two of them. Looking at the girl, Lin Ray asked, "Little doll, how about following me to cultivate?" The moment he said that, the boy's face changed. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He did not expect that the first person Lin Ray asked was not him, but his sister. However, this look of disbelief disappeared not long after it appeared. However, after resting for a short while, Lin Ray still found out about it. Ignoring the boy, he waited for the little girl's response. He understood that the little girl might not know about the problem of apprenticeship or cultivation. However, he did not want to wait any longer. He did not want to stay here any longer. Are you willing? Once again, the little girl did not respond. This made Lin Rei ask again. Little sister, hurry up and agree. At this moment, the little girl had a confused look on her face while the boy urged her anxiously. It was as though he was the one who wanted to be apprenticed. Big brother, what is apprenticeship? The little girl asked her big brother. Lin Rei was a little speechless at the little girl's response, but this was normal. After all, she was still young, and it was not easy for her to understand. Little sister, don't worry about what it means to be my disciple. Just say it. Hurry up and say it. Oh, got it. The little girl was very obedient to the boy's words and nodded. Under the boy's guidance, she knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Lin Rei. Master, please accept Rongrong's kowtow. Rongrong? This was the first time he had heard of this name, but it was very nice and easy to remember. Lin Rei liked it very much. All right. Since you're already my disciple, then in the future, you must remember. Lin Li's voice suddenly stopped. He had forgotten that there was no point in talking to a little girl who didn't know what he was talking about. All right, get up. I'll tell you about these things when you grow up. As he spoke, he waved his hand, and a gentle force appeared, pulling the young girl up from the ground. Wow, it's so magical. The little girl was very innocent. Seeing such a miraculous scene, her expression was filled with worship. The little girl's cute appearance made Lin Rei laugh. You little girl, you'll also be able to do these things in the future. No need to be envious. After speaking, he turned his gaze to the boy. Lin Rei had already made his decision when he noticed the boy's spirit root. Although he could cultivate to a very high level, but his spirit root and perception were not at the level that Lin Rei wanted, so he could only give up. Little guy, I won't accept you as my disciple. What? Shock, despair, doubt, disbelief, all kinds of emotions welled up in the boy's heart. Despair occupied most of his emotions. Lin Rei's words of not accepting him as a disciple made the boy, who was originally full of hope, completely despair. Why? Raising his head, he spoke slowly. The ashen look on his face caused Lin Li to be stunned. He knew what sort of harm his decision had brought to the boy, but Lin Li wouldn't change his mind just because of this. Your talent and perception are not at the level that I want to accept you as my disciple, but, although he could not accept the boy as his disciple, he could still give the boy the ability to protect himself. But what? A glimmer of hope lit up in the boy's eyes. Although I can't accept you as my disciple, I will give you a cultivation method and guide you in cultivation for a period of time. That's all. Lin Rei's eyes were filled with determination. If it's possible, then we'll start from today. If it's not possible, then okay. The boy was not stupid. He understood that if he were to act rashly, he might not even have this chance. So, he agreed. Of course, he had another idea. He wanted to use the time that he had left to perform so that Lin Rei would accept him as his disciple. He still had some hope in his heart. Moreover, diligence could make up for stupidity. He did not believe that his hard work could not be compared to those geniuses with talent and perception. He believed that man could conquer the heavens. Okay. The boy's decision did not surprise Lin Rei at all. After all, Lin Rei still understood the boy's heart. Since that's the case, then leave this place with me. Today, I will be leaving Void Chant City. You. What else do you want? I can give you one day. There's no need. Before Lin Rei could finish, the boy interrupted, other than sadness, there's no one, thing here that I want to leave. All right. Lin Rei nodded. Then, he turned around and walked out of the shabby room with the little girl in his arms. As for the boy, he naturally followed closely behind. Oh, that's right. I still don't know your name. Suddenly, Lin Rei, who was walking in front, suddenly stopped and turned around to ask. My surname is Min. My name is Tianyu. Min? Min Rongrong, Min Tianyu. Haha, that's a good name. I'll remember it. Then, he smiled and led the boy and the girl away from this barren land. On the other side, City Lord Yu Tiancheng finally found all the medicinal herbs after 3 days. Yu Ling even brought the spiritual herbs to the agreed restaurant impatiently. Under the guidance of the waiter, Yu Ling and Yu Tiancheng arrived at the door of Lin Rei's room. City Lord, this is the room of that Mr. If there's nothing else, I will take my leave first. The waiter said respectfully. Go ahead. Yu Tiancheng waved his hand. He did not have the chance to look at the waiter. He turned his head to look at the door and said respectfully, Is Mr. in? Yu Tiancheng has brought my daughter, Yu Ling, here as promised. Please come out and meet me. Chapter 1067. The room was completely silent. It was as if the space was frozen. There wasn't even the sound of a bird. He's not here? Mr. Yu Tiancheng has brought my daughter, Yu Ling, here according to the rules. May I ask Mr. to come out and meet us? Yu Tiancheng spoke again. After a few minutes, there was still no sound coming from the room. This made Yu Tiancheng, who had always been in a superior position, a little unhappy. Although he knew that the other party was powerful, he was still the city lord of a big city. Wouldn't it be rude to neglect him like this? Father, maybe, Mr. isn't here. Why don't we wait? Yu Ling, who knew her father's temper, said weakly. Wait? However, Yu Ling didn't know that her words had completely intensified Yu Tiancheng's anger. What are we waiting for? Can you go crazy with your illness? Isn't it just a little bit of cultivation? You dare to make me wait in my city? Do you really think you're some big shot? After saying that, he turned his head and gave his subordinate a look. His subordinate understood and nodded. Then, he walked past Yu Tiancheng and arrived in front of the door. He extended his hand and rudely opened the door. Boom! Inside the room, Xueling Tian, who was cultivating, heard the commotion and stopped cultivating. His eyes suddenly opened and killing intent emerged on his face. Oh! Who dares to disturb me when I'm cultivating? His ferocity was completely released. He didn't dare to speak in front of Lin Rei. He could feel that the person who came wasn't Lin Rei. So, he erupted. Because other people couldn't hear Xuelingtian's voice, other than the roar of a beast, his voice wasn't loud. Whoosh! Anger dominated Xuelingtian's body. He circulated his cultivation and turned into a blood-colored light that rushed out, aiming at the throat of the person who entered the room. Crack! A bone-shattering sound that made one's scalp go numb rang out. Looking over, one could see that a small snake had already bitten the man's throat. Bastard, who told you to disturb my cultivation? See if I don't eat you. While thinking, he used more strength and his throat was bitten off by Xueling Tian. The pain spread throughout his body like an electric shock, and he subconsciously covered his throat with his hands. Unfortunately, it didn't seem to be of any use. The wound was too big, and blood spurted out like a fountain. Swish! Xueling Tian flashed to the table and looked at the man who was clutching his throat with both hands. Blood was spurting out, and his expression was deathly pale. The viciousness in his eyes was undisguised. What, this, outside the door, when he saw the state of his subordinate, he was shocked. Everything had happened so quickly that he only reacted after the man was injured. In a flash, he arrived in front of his subordinate. When he saw the wound on his subordinate's throat, his face instantly paled, and a ferocious glint flashed in his eyes. The man before him was his capable subordinate. Now that he had been killed, how could he accept this? Of course, there was another reason. He felt that his authority had been challenged. As a superior, he would not allow such a thing to happen. Thus, he wanted to kill that person. Of course, he would only kill that person after that person healed his daughter. A bestial roar resounded. Xue Lingtian, who was on the table, saw the ferocious glint in the eyes of the person who had rushed in. He understood that the person in front of him was filled with killing intent. Such a person could not be left alive. No matter who he was, as long as he dared to have killing intent, no matter how strong or weak his cultivation was, only death would be able to end it. As if sensing Xue Lingtian's killing intent, Yu Tiancheng turned his head. When he saw Xue Lingtian on the table, Yu Tiancheng was stunned. Especially when he saw the blood at the corner of Xue Lingtian's mouth, Yu Tiancheng was stunned. Motherf **Ker, it can't be, could it be that it was this little guy who had killed my subordinate in an instant? This thought filled his mind, but he instinctively refused to believe it. After all, this little guy was too young. Moreover, how could he believe that such a little guy had the ability to stand shoulder to shoulder with a martial general? Just like that, the two of them stared at each other in a deadlock. Xue Lingtian didn't make a move. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but he was waiting. Waiting for Lin Rei to appear. As for Yu Lingtian, it wasn't that he didn't want to make a move, but he wasn't sure if it was him who had done it. Time slowly passed. The deadlock in the room left Yu Lingtian, who was waiting outside, powerless. At the entrance of the restaurant, Lin Rei brought two people with him. Seeing their dirty appearance, he frowned. He immediately walked into the restaurant and called over a waiter. Go get some clothes for these two children. Also, tell the kitchen to prepare this dish. The waiter had already seen Lin Rei's strength yesterday, so it wasn't good for him to disobey Lin Rei's orders. Prepare a table like yesterday. Do it quickly. Do you remember? Yes. This little one will remember. After saying that, without waiting for Lin Rei to urge him, he stumbled and disappeared from Lin Rei's line of sight. This scene was completely seen by Min Tianyu. Besides envy, there was also longing. Okay, let's go, What is that fellow from Xue Lingtian doing? Just as Lin Rei finished arranging things, Lin Rei suddenly felt Xue Lingtian's aura. This aura was different from the usual Xue Lingtian. This aura was filled with violence and ferocity. Shocked, he grabbed Min Tianyu and flashed. In a few breaths, he arrived at the scene of the crime. Lin Rei saw the confrontation between Yu Tiancheng and Xue Lingtian, especially Yu Lingtian, who was outside the room. You. What are you doing? His voice was gloomy and hoarse. He believed in Xue Lingtian. He wouldn't casually attack or get angry, especially when facing such a weakling. You're back. Hearing Lin Rei's voice, Xue Lingtian asked. Only Lin Rei could hear this voice. What's going on? When I was cultivating, these people disturbed my cultivation. Moreover. His gaze locked onto Yu Tiancheng again, and his killing intent soared. This fellow has killing intent in his heart. I won't let such a person go. What do you think? Although he hadn't spent much time with Lin Rei, he understood that Lin Rei was even more ruthless than him. For those who had killing intent, no matter how powerful they were, he would kill them first. Kill. Linley didn't pay any attention to Feather Spirit. Towards this sort of person, Linley wouldn't cause trouble for himself, even though he understood that in a low-level plane like this, Feather Spirit probably wouldn't pose much of a threat to him. All right. Lin Rei's answer was exactly what Xue Lingtian wanted to hear. His figure flashed and turned into a stream of light, rushing towards Yu Tiancheng. No. Chapter 1068. Yu Ling cried out. Her figure seemed to have broken through the limit as she rushed to the front of Lin Rei. With a pleading gaze, she pleaded with Lin Rei, Mister, it's my father's fault. It's our fault. I beg you to let my father go. Please spare him this time. How about this? I I won't be treated. Give the chance to treat me to my father. As long as my father doesn't die, please let us do whatever you want. Saying that, Yu Ling's body trembled. Ever since she was born, she had never felt such despair. As she saw it, as long as she said this, Linley's heart would more or less soften. After all, her beauty was there for all to see. But what disappointed Yu Ling was that Linley's resolute expression didn't change in the slightest. Looking at Yu Ling, Lin Rei was expressionless. His voice was extremely cold. I didn't plan to treat you in the first place. So, accept your fate. If you want to blame someone, blame your father for putting his attention on me. For people like him, there's only one ending, death. Lin Rei's words were like a god that ruled over life. His majesty and imposing manner made Yu Ling feel completely hopeless. This old man isn't someone to be trifled with. If you want to kill me, Looking at the red light rushing over, Yu Tiancheng was startled. He quickly reacted and raised his hand. Circulating his cultivation, he was about to slap the red light. In her opinion, even if this person's cultivation was strong, how strong could he be? She wasn't necessarily not his opponent. This was a good idea, but he had found the wrong target. If it was a snake-type demonic beast, it would be fine. Unfortunately, Xue Lingtian wasn't an ordinary demonic beast. He was a blood jiao that had survived from the desolate era. Therefore, Yu Tiancheng's idea was destined to be a bubble. Ant-like existence. Xue Lingtian didn't even bother to look at Yu Tiancheng. The difference between their cultivation was too big, so, accept your fate's judgment. After saying that, the blood spirit sky's speed increased again, and the red light in Yu Tiancheng's eyes completely disappeared. This. The disappearance of the red light brought quite a bit of shock to Yu Tiancheng. Originally, he thought that his opponent's cultivation would be about the same as his own. Even if he was stronger, he wouldn't be that much stronger. However, the scene before him made Yu Tiancheng completely lose the confidence to win. Pooh! A bloody light emerged from Yu Tiancheng's chest. Looking over, a bloody hole the size of a finger appeared where Yu Tiancheng's heart was. Scarlet blood continuously flowed out from the bloody hole as if it wanted to break free from the imprisonment of Yu Tiancheng's body. Pfff. A mouthful of blood spurted out from Yu Tiancheng's mouth. His face instantly paled as he lost all strength and sat on the ground. What's going on? You. Why are you so strong? This doesn't make sense. Why are you so strong? Why? Disbelief and shock filled his eyes as he looked at Blood Spirit Sky, who had already appeared. He wanted to know. Now that things had already turned out like this, Yu Tiancheng wanted to know how he died before he died so that he could see clearly. Ant-like existence. Not only will there always be someone stronger than you, but a fiendish aura surged as his tone turned colder. When did this lord say that this lord was a snake? As he spoke, as if to prove his strength, his figure completely materialized without another word. The small snake that was originally 1 meter long completely disappeared at this moment and was replaced by a blood dragon that was more than 50 meters long. The surrounding air also became thick with the smell of blood because of the blood dragon's recovery. Pfff, looking at the blood dragon's transformation, Yu Tiancheng once again spurted out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were completely ashen. At this moment, he finally understood why he couldn't even withstand a single blow. After all this time, it wasn't that he couldn't withstand a single blow, but that his opponent was too strong. It was just that his dog eyes couldn't see through the jade and actually treated his opponent as an ordinary snake-type demonic beast. Pfff. Blood flowed out uncontrollably as his body trembled from fear. His entire body was filled with the aura of death as if he was going to die at any moment. Father. A roar came out from Yu Ling's mouth. Her figure left Lin Rei's side and rushed to Yu Tiancheng's side. Looking at her father, who used his powerful figure to protect her, at this moment, he seemed so insignificant and made her heart ache. Heh. Heh, Ling, PFFF, don't. Don't cry. This matter is your father's fault. If it wasn't for your father's obsession, I'm afraid this wouldn't have happened. From now on, your father might not be able to protect you. Now that your father is dead, I'm afraid the entire Su-In city will be in chaos. Take advantage of the fact that they haven't received the news yet and leave the city immediately. Don't come back in the future. Although he said so, he understood that since Lin Rei had already said that she was sick and would die if she didn't receive treatment, she wouldn't be able to live for long even if she left now. Thinking of this, his grief couldn't help but completely erupt. No, father, You'll be fine. You promised me that you'll accompany me and protect me. You promised me, how can you go back on your words? You promised me that you'll be fine. After saying that, Yu Ling rushed before Lin Rei as if she had gone mad. She knelt on the ground and kowtowed incessantly. She didn't care if it hurt or not and pretended to be crazy. This gave Lin Rei a fright. That was because the impression that Yu Ling gave Lin Rei before was that she was cultured, refined, and well-educated. However, her current state had completely changed. Her impression of Yu Ling was completely reversed. I beg of you. I can give you anything as long as you can save my father's life. I beg of you. Thump, thump, thump. The sound of kowtowing entered the ears of Lin Rei and everyone present. Yu Tiancheng's body trembled and his complexion turned even paler. It was as if he would die at any moment. Actually, if his heart was pierced, he would die immediately. However, because Yu Tiancheng was a martial cultivator, he was able to persevere until now. The time for the hero to save the beauty has arrived. Lin Rei, what are you waiting for? Hurry up. She said that she could give you anything. Xue Lingtian's teasing voice sounded in Lin Rei's mind. Oh. Is that so? But why do I feel that your skin is itchy? Do you want me to ask the Azure Dragons to give you a good scratch? I think they would be very happy to do so. Lin Rei's words made Xue Lingtian speechless. King want to scratch my skin? I'll be lucky if you don't King kill me. Xue Lingtian didn't speak again but obediently stood aside. As for Lin Rei, he looked at Imo Yuling kneeling in front of him and sighed helplessly. Lin Rei admired her filial piety very much. Chapter 1069. However, Lin Rei still wouldn't agree. Not because of anything else, but because of the promise he made before. Moreover, he had already accepted Rong Rong as his disciple. Naturally, he had to protect his disciple's interests and everything. As the murderer of his disciple's parents, how could Lin Rei save them? Of course, more importantly, he didn't have the ability to do so. If he was at his peak, he could do it with a wave of his hand. But now, even if he used all his strength, it was still impossible. Therefore, Lin Rei couldn't save Yu Tiancheng. He was the one who ordered the death of Yu Tiancheng. If he tried to save him, wouldn't that be a joke? Give up. I won't do anything. As for you, I advise you to listen to your father and leave this place quickly. Otherwise, when your father's enemies come, I'm afraid you won't be able to escape this calamity. Enemies? What enemies? My father has been helping the weak all his life. He loves his people like his own children. How could he have enemies? She roared. She subconsciously chose not to believe Lin Rei's words. She believed in her father. She believed that her father couldn't be like what he said. Oh, are you sure? He asked with a playful smile. I'm sure. My father definitely doesn't have enemies. Yu Ling was very certain. Yes, you are very courageous. Yu Ling's words made Lin Rei give her a thumbs up. Tianyu, come here. Tell this. Miss Yu Ling, tell her who killed your family and who caused you to become like this. Min Tianyu, who had been restraining himself all this time, heard Lin Rei's call. The hatred in his heart completely exploded. He took a step forward and looked at Yu Ling. The hatred in his eyes made Yu Ling jump in fright. She couldn't help but tremble. Is this the gaze a child should have? Could it be that father really? No, it can't be. Father can't be a bad person. He is so good and loves me so much. How could it be? Min Tianyu didn't know what Yu Ling was thinking. If he knew, he would probably laugh out loud. Looking at Yu Ling, the hatred in Min Tianyu's heart soared to the sky. He wanted nothing more than to rush up and stab Yu Tiancheng a few times to relieve the hatred in his heart and pay tribute to the souls of his parents in heaven. My parents were killed by our respected city lord because my parents accidentally bumped into your carriage. Because of this, your father sent people to kill my parents. It's also because of you that my parents died. The people in my family chased me and my younger sister out. Do you know how the two of us survived for more than a year? Do you know what it's like for a child to eat a rotten steamed bun? Do you know what it's like for a child to starve for 2 days? Do you know how a child, without the support of his parents and being scolded by his friends and relatives? No, you don't know. You only know that your father loves you, but do you know that the love your father gave you was earned with the lives of others? Min Tianyu seemed to have gone crazy. He opened his mouth and roared word by word. His entire face was filled with insanity, as if he wanted to go up and eat Yu Ling. On the side, seeing Min Tianyu like this, he smiled in his heart. It was better to release hatred than to keep it in his heart. At least this way, he wouldn't become a bad person in the future. Yu Ling wasn't as certain as before. Because what Min Tianyu said was too true, and she also remembered that a year ago, there was a couple who bumped into her carriage. Boom. When this thought appeared, Yu Ling seemed to have been struck by lightning. Her lifeless eyes were frozen on the spot. What, you can't accept it? Seeing Yu Ling's appearance, Lin Rei spoke. His voice was filled with coldness and abruptness. Go, I believe that your father will give you the answer you want, and... Her gaze shifted to Tianyu. Tianyu is my disciple's brother. Your father killed my disciple's parents, so this is also the reason why I didn't save him. Birth, old age, illness, and death is the cycle of Tendo. Where there is no cause, there is no effect. Remember this, there is cause, there is effect. After speaking, he signaled Shui Lingtian to turn around and leave this place. It wasn't that he was disgusted, nor was he afraid that Min Rongrong would see it. It was because during this period of time, he had already heard the rumbling sounds of the two children's stomachs. After Linley's group left, Feather Spirit recovered from his stupefied state. Hoping that he was lucky, he went to the side of his father, who had yet to die. In a trembling voice, he asked, Father, just now, was what that child said right? Just because they bumped into my carriage, you sent people to kill them? This sentence seemed to have used up all of Yu Ling's strength because she had always trusted her father. She didn't believe that her father was such a cold-blooded and heartless person. However, reality was often the opposite of what you thought. Opening his powerless eyes and looking at his daughter, a trace of sadness appeared on Yu Tiancheng's face. Sigh, that child was right. His parents were indeed killed by me. What, you? As soon as he said this, Yu Ling's body suddenly turned to the side and she collapsed to the ground. Her eyes were completely filled with despair. The trace of trust she had was completely destroyed by Yu Tiancheng. Don't be so surprised. In this chaotic world, either they die or we die. Only by becoming the ruler of a region can we live a stable life. This is my personal experience. Daughter, you have to remember that if you're lucky enough to survive this time, remember to become stronger. In this world, becoming stronger is the only way. No. I don't believe that you did this. You. She cried. Looking at his daughter's tears, Yu Tiancheng's heart was broken. He had never let his daughter be in such a situation. Outside the restaurant in the front yard, Lin Rei brought the group to the table where they had been sitting before. At this moment, the table was already filled with food. This was what he had instructed previously. "Sir, the clothes you asked me to buy are ready. What else do you need?" "Oh, is that so?" Hearing this, he looked at the two little fellows. The coldness from before disappeared. A smile appeared on his face as he said, "Take these two little fellows away. After washing them, change them into clothes and send them over." "Yes, I'll go right away." The waiter couldn't refuse Lin Rei's words. He immediately carried the little girl and brought Min Tianyu out of the restaurant and towards the backyard. "Hey, what's going on?" After the two little fellows left, Bloodwell Tian couldn't suppress his curiosity and asked, "It's only been a morning since we last met. Why did you bring back two little fellows?" "That little girl is my disciple. In the future, your duty is to protect her. Don't let her get hurt, understand?" Blood Spirit Sky. Chapter 1070. The meal was hastily finished. Of course, the most important thing was the food that the two little ones ate. They looked very delicious, especially Min Rongrong. Her entire face looked like a little kitten as she ate. Lin Rei had to constantly wipe her face. Min Tianyu was startled when he saw how well Lin Rei took care of his younger sister. Then, his furrowed brows relaxed. He understood that he and his younger sister had met a kind person this time. He could tell that Lin Rei treated his younger sister with sincerity. Min Tianyu felt much more at ease about this. The two of them changed into brand new clothes. They no longer looked like young masters and young ladies from rich families. At the city gate of Void Chant City, Lin Rei carried Min Rongrong in his arms while Min Tianyu followed beside him. They looked at the road in the distance. To be honest, Lin Rei didn't even know where to go. Where to? He wasn't asking Min Tianyu. Instead, he was asking the Blood Spirit Sky. "Let's go and see. We'll talk about the details when the time comes. Anyway, we're not in a hurry." Lin Rei couldn't wait to kick the Blood Spirit Sky in the face. Previously, he left as if he was going to die. Now, he wasn't panicking at all. The two of them didn't speak. Neither of them paid any attention to the other. Linley just walked away, aimlessly. He didn't know where he was going, but the most important thing right now was to teach Min Tianyu some life-saving skills that would allow him to have a place in this chaotic world. This was also what he had promised Min Tianyu. Lin Rei naturally wouldn't go back on his word. In Void Chant City, the city lord, Yu Tiancheng, passed away. It could be said that Void Chant City was liberated. However, there was still the problem of competition between the major families. Casualties were unavoidable. As for Yu Ling, she disappeared not long after the incident. No one knew where this young miss went. The Guanyin Empire was one of the few rulers in this land. There were many dynasties and duchies in the Destiny realm, but there were only 4 empires: the Zhongzhou Imperial Dynasty, the Guanyin Imperial Dynasty, the Yanyan Imperial Dynasty, and the most powerful one, the Tianqing Imperial Dynasty. However, friction between the dukedoms and kingdoms was unavoidable, and Emperor Dynasty turned a blind eye to it. As long as it didn't harm Emperor Dynasty's interests, they could do whatever they wanted. There would also be conflicts between the empires, but Emperor Dynasty wouldn't dare to avoid these conflicts because the empires were already Emperor Dynasty's assets. If there were conflicts between them, it would definitely harm Emperor Dynasty's interests. Thus, for this reason, the 4 imperial empires agreed on a rule. There was no war between the imperial empires. If there were conflicts between the imperial empires, they could settle it privately, but they could not use the power of the imperial empires. As for the wars between dukedoms and kingdoms, no one paid any attention to them. This was because these small conflicts could not affect them, so they did not care either. The Guanyin Empire's capital was in the central region of the southern region. It was surrounded by various imperial empires, and outside of the imperial empires were dukedoms. This undoubtedly protected the imperial empires in the center, forming a natural barrier. At this moment, Lu Changtian and the others had finally arrived at the Guanyin Empire's capital under Long Ming's lead. At the gates of the Guanyin Empire's capital, Lu Changtian, who was born in a dukedom, was completely stunned when he saw this magnificent masterpiece. His expression was filled with uncontrollable excitement and respect. Not only him, but even Hui Yun was the same. After all, they were all people from small places, and it was inevitable that they would be shocked when seeing such a magnificent masterpiece for the first time. Of course, Long Ming hurriedly covered his forehead with his hand and hid to the side as if he didn't know them. He didn't want to be with Lu Changtian and Long Ming. Sure enough, an imperial dynasty is an imperial dynasty. Their capital is so majestic. Compared to a duchy, it's like the difference between heaven and earth. Long Ming was speechless at Lu Changtian's words. He really wanted to say, damn, isn't that obvious? If there isn't such a small difference, then how can a dukedom be a subordinate of an imperial dynasty? Seriously, of course, Long Ming wouldn't say this out loud. He looked at Lu Changtian and said with a fawning expression, that, Senior, we have arrived at the Guanyin Empire's capital. Why don't we go in and talk? Are you in a hurry? Lu Changtian was indifferent. No. No. Long Ming was shocked. He looked at the passers-by. At this moment, everyone's eyes were filled with disdain and contempt. Lu Changtian naturally understood what these people meant. Because of this, Lu Changtian's face turned red. He knew that he came from a small place, and it was inevitable that he would feel strange when he saw such a place. Cough. That, Grand Mistress, why don't we go in and talk? We have been on the road for an entire day. I'm sure you are hungry. Yes. Senior, in the capital, there are only things that you can't imagine. There is nothing that you can't eat. Heavenly fragrance intoxication. This restaurant is the best restaurant in the capital. The dishes inside are top-notch, and the wine is even more delicious. As if he had already eaten, he revealed an intoxicated expression. Looking at Long Ming's current appearance, Lu Changtian couldn't help it. Previously, they had to make do on the road because they were in a hurry. However, it was different now. Now that they had arrived at their destination, if they still made do, it would be too outrageous. At this moment, everyone looked at Hui Yun with anticipation. Because only when she nodded, Lu Changtian could take action. And only when Lu Changtian took action, they would have food to eat. Hui Yun took in everyone's expectant gaze. Because of this, a smile appeared on her face. She then said, all right, let's do as Long Ming said. After all, this is his hometown. It shouldn't be wrong to listen to him. Moreover, I also want to try the scenery of the capital. Hearing this, everyone's face lit up. Lu Changtian nodded. If that's the case, then, Senior, you don't have to say any more. Leave this matter to me. Not to mention anything else, just in terms of eating, drinking, and playing, in the capital, if I say that I am second, no one would dare to say that they are first. After saying that, he gestured for Hui Yun to enter. For this reason, Hui Yun didn't have any reservations. Of course, at the beginning, Hui Yun was a little uncomfortable. However, with Long Ming's insistence, Hui Yun was helpless in the end. Of course, now, she was used to it. The group of people entered the capital in a grandiose manner. Lu Changtian was shocked by the scene in the capital. When he saw something new, he couldn't help but cry out sometimes. Because of this, Long Ming felt helpless. Despise, ridicule? Of course, he didn't dare. After interacting with him for so long, he understood Lu Changtian's character. As long as they didn't become enemies, they could still be friends. If they became enemies, they wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. At this moment, Lu Changtian looked like a country bumpkin entering the city. His appearance was very funny. Chapter 1071. The Heavenly Fragrance Intoxication was a restaurant located on the outskirts of the capital. It was a first-class restaurant in the Guanyin Empire and had branches in all the cities under the jurisdiction of the Guanyin Empire. Long Ming brought Huiyun to the Heavenly Fragrance Intoxication without stopping. However, Lu Changtian was nowhere to be seen in the crowd. Huiyun was stunned when she saw the people coming and going in front of the Heavenly Fragrance Intoxication. She had expected the Heavenly Fragrance Intoxication to be popular. After all, it was in the capital, but she didn't expect it to be this popular. There was a long line on the other side of the Heavenly Fragrance Intoxication. It was obvious that this group of people was waiting to eat. The Heavenly Fragrance Intoxication in your capital is really popular. It can actually make so many people wait. She couldn't help but exclaim at Long Ming when she saw this scene. However, Huiyun didn't notice that Long Ming, who was from the capital, was also dumbfounded when he saw this scene. What's going on? He recalled that he hadn't been back for a while. Back then, although the Heavenly Fragrance Intoxication was popular, it wasn't popular enough to make everyone wait. He nodded at Huiyun and stopped a young man. He asked, "Little brother, what's going on? I don't remember the Heavenly Fragrance Intoxication being so popular 2 or 3 years ago." The young man stopped by Long Ming was startled when he saw that Long Ming was listening to him. Then, he nodded. No wonder. I haven't been back for 2 or 3 years. A year ago, a female chef suddenly came to the Heavenly Fragrance Intoxication. Not only did she look like a fairy, but her cooking was also very memorable. Anyone who ate her food wouldn't be able to eat anything else. Damn, there's such a thing? Long Ming was shocked. He deeply suspected that the young man in front of him was exaggerating. It was fine if she was good-looking, but if they couldn't eat other people's food after eating her food, then, this matter was worth investigating. After all, it sounded like he didn't believe it. Hey, don't stop me. I have to line up. Otherwise, I won't be able to get in. Seeing that Long Ming did not speak, the young man became anxious. He slapped Long Ming's hand away and prepared to leave. Oh, that's right. The female chef at Heavenly Fragrance Intoxication only cooks enough food for 100 people every day. She starts at 5:00 in the afternoon every day. According to the current time, it should have just started. If you want, the queue now is still. Halfway through his sentence, the young man paused. His entire body froze in midair as he stared at the queue that was already far away in the distance. Look, it's all because of you. If it weren't for you, I might have been ranked. At this moment, there were already a lot of people in the queue. Not to mention 1,000 people, there were already more than 200 people. Most importantly, there weren't so many people when he saw it just now. Madam, what do you think of us? Long Ming's heart throbbed a little when he saw this. After all, his pursuit of delicacies was very good. When he saw such a good meal, he also wanted to try it. However, when he thought of Huiyun's existence, he immediately suppressed this thought. He immediately turned around and planned to change to another restaurant. However, who would have thought that when he turned around, Huiyun's figure was nowhere to be seen. The place was completely empty. Long Ming was dumbfounded. Where did she go? Looking at his subordinates, Long Ming roared. Huiyun's life was more important than their group. Even a strand of her hair was more important than their lives. That young master, madam, is over there. At this moment, one of his subordinates saw his young master's anxious appearance. He immediately raised his hand and pointed at Huiyun, who was in the queue. Emin. As he spoke, he looked in the direction his subordinate was pointing at. He saw that Huiyun was already in the middle of the queue. Furthermore, she seemed to be at the very front. She just so happened to be within the 100 people. Damn, what's going on? Long Ming didn't understand. He immediately went forward and arrived in front of Huiyun. He said respectfully, "Madam, what are you? Aren't you going to eat? Seeing that you were chatting happily with someone over there, I didn't want to disturb you." This. Huiyun's words were very calm. However, to Long Ming's ears, it was very ear-piercing. "Madam, you don't have to line up. I'll get my subordinates to line up. Let's go to the tea house opposite and rest. When it's time, we'll get them to inform you." "No, there's no need." Hearing Long Ming's words, Huiyun was stunned. She looked embarrassed. Of course. As he spoke, he glanced at his subordinates behind him. That subordinate was quite smart. He quickly came in front of Huiyun and replaced Huiyun. "Madam, let's go." As he spoke, Long Ming automatically went to the left side of Huiyun. After a long journey in contact, Long Ming was basically used to the current position. He must have said that he liked the current situation very much in the past. In the past, because of the orders, he lived very tirelessly. Now, he was much happier. "Go, pack up all the delicious food on the street and send it to me. How can there be no snacks for afternoon tea?" "Yes, I'll go right away." A group of more than 30 people received Long Ming's order and began to sweep the entire street in a sweeping manner. In this regard, the passers-by who heard Long Ming's words were all stunned. However, everyone paid the most attention to Huiyun, who was sitting on the chair. They had never heard of Huiyun in the capital. However, to be able to have such an extravagant display, she must not be an ordinary person. Huiyun was very helpless about Long Ming's arrangement. Damn, more than 30 people went out. Isn't it just to drink tea and wait for the arrival? You asked people to bring back so many things. Are you not going to let me eat? Are you going to say that you want to monopolize the food cooked by that female chef? Of course, this idea was just a joke. She understood that Long Ming was able to do this completely because of Lu Changtian's deterrence and the prestige of her son. In the end, after shaking her head helplessly, she had nothing else to say. She could only sit obediently and drink tea. After a while, more than 30 people came back with bags of various sizes in their hands. They placed the things in their hands on the table. Of course, one table was not enough. Then, Long Ming put the surrounding 4 tables together. This was just enough. "Madam, please try first. These are all very famous snacks in the capital of Guanyin Empire." As he spoke, Long Ming opened the bags one by one like a servant and placed them in front of Huiyun. His expression was full of anticipation as he led Huiyun to taste. "Sit down and eat too. There's no one else here. After following for so long, you must be tired." Moreover, pointing at the food on the table, Huiyun continued, "There's so much food. I can't finish it alone. Why don't we eat together?" As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned. This is not good," Long Ming said in advance. However, although he said so, his body was very honest. He picked up a piece of good food and ate it. As for the others, they were still waiting for their young master's order. After all, as frightening people, if they ate at the same table as the host, it would be a big taboo unless the host agreed. "Okay, don't be stunned. Let's eat together." Chapter 1072. Upon receiving their young master's order, the group of servants rushed forward like wolves and tigers. They seemed to have forgotten that Huiyun was beside them. They kept stuffing food into their mouths as if they had been gluttons for hundreds of lifetimes. "Boss, give us some more tea." One of the men seemed to have choked on his food and said to the boss of the tea house. Then, he joined in the gluttons again. Long Ming saw his subordinates' behavior and smiled awkwardly and elegantly. The corner of his mouth twitched and he wanted to remind them. "Forget it, let them eat. They have suffered a lot during this period of time. Since we are already in the capital, it doesn't matter." Huiyun seemed to have sensed Long Ming's thoughts and actions. She didn't wait for him to speak and spoke first. Her face was full of smiles. She was very happy to see them eating and didn't feel bad about it. Okay. He cast a grateful look at Huiyun and didn't say anything else. He continued his, how should he put it? A moment ago, he wanted to restrain his subordinates, but in the next moment, he joined in the group of gluttons. He didn't have the grace and elegance of a young master from a large family. Huiyun didn't think much of Long Ming and the others' behavior. Of course, this was because Huiyun treated them as her own people. Although they had treated the Lin family badly, after interacting with them for a period of time, she understood that Long Ming wasn't a murderous person. He just had to do it because of the threat from the powerful force behind him. Huiyun understood this point very well. Of course, the most important thing was their attitude towards her. Therefore, she was able to resolve their crimes. It had to be said that the strength of more than 30 people was really too strong. The food that was put together by the 4 tables was destroyed bit by bit under the actions of the group of people. In just a short hour, the snacks that were brought back previously were all gone. Even the teapot, the table and the ground were like a small mountain. Their fighting strength was terrifying. Burp, perhaps it was because they ate too quickly, or perhaps it was because they didn't eat well before, but when they ate these things, they couldn't control themselves and ate until they were full. He burped, and in the next moment, he realized that something was wrong with him. Then, he bowed to Huiyun awkwardly. Madam, I'm really sorry. I accidentally, hee. Long Ming scratched his head and stood there awkwardly. He was like a child who had made a mistake and was waiting for an adult to reprimand him. At this moment, more than 30 people stopped what they were doing. It wasn't that they wanted to listen, but these snacks were too delicious. However, they had no choice. They had no choice but to stop because the bag was empty. Everything inside had been wiped clean by them. Looking at everyone's appearance, especially Long Ming's appearance, Huiyun could not help but laugh out loud. It had to be said that the appearance of a woman who cultivated did not change much. Although Huiyun was in her 40s, her appearance was only in her 20s or 30s. Especially her face, it could be said that a smile could topple a country and a city. It's okay. Just eat well. If it's not enough, go buy more. Anyway, Chang Tian is not back yet. We're not in a hurry. Besides, after saying that, she turned her head to look at the restaurant opposite the tea house. At this moment, half an hour had passed. The entrance of the restaurant was still crowded with people. However, fortunately, the person who saw her slap to line up had found the second person. We haven't eaten yet. We can't just go and eat and let them wait, right? This sentence was sincere. Huiyun treated this group of people as her own people. Yes. Huiyun's words made Long Ming feel warm in his heart. It was also because of Huiyun's temper that he had the impulse to stay by her side and serve her for a long time. Of course, in addition to this reason, the most important reason was that super strong person who had never shown his face. Young master. Hurry, it's finally our turn. Just as Long Ming was thinking, a voice came from outside the door. Oh. He was very familiar with this voice. He turned his head to look at the opposite side. Sure enough, the person he had slapped became the first person. Madam, let's go quickly. Let's see what's so special about this female chef. After saying that, he came behind Huiyun and led her to move. Let's go. To be honest, Huiyun had been hungry for a long time, especially when she saw more than 30 people eating. She did not eat much just now. She only ate 2 pieces and drank some tea. She got up and walked towards the door. Oh, by the way, if you're still hungry, find a place to sit down and send someone to buy some good food. If you don't have enough money, after saying that, she took out a black card and handed it to Long Ming. Eat well. Otherwise, you'll think that the Lin family doesn't have the money to feed you. She stopped in her tracks and turned around to speak to the 30 people behind her. Her words had implicitly made this group of people into the Lin family. Yes, here. Hurry up and buy some food. Sit down and eat slowly. Don't look like a reincarnated hungry ghost. It's embarrassing. Long Ming did not reject the card that Hui Yun handed to him. He took it and handed it to his subordinate. This action had undoubtedly made him a member of the Lin family. Young master, you seem to have. At this moment, the subordinate who took the card muttered softly. Damn it, hurry up. How could Long Ming allow him to say that? He did not wait for the subordinate to finish speaking and interrupted him. Haha, Hui Yun could not help but laugh at this scene. She thought about Long Ming's previous state. He did not lose out to the 30 people at all. Look, this group of little brats. Hui Yun's smile made Long Ming's face turn red. He subconsciously remembered this subordinate who had muttered. Let's go. Without stopping, she led Long Ming to the disciple who was in the queue. Madam, young master, you're here. The man looked very obedient. The moment Hui Yun and the others arrived, he bowed and greeted them. That's enough. You can go too. Follow them and buy whatever they like to eat. We still need some time to eat. You've worked hard during this time. Before Long Ming could speak, Hui Yun spoke first. Okay. That's all, madam. Hui Yun's attitude surprised the man. He bowed and thanked her before hurriedly leaving. Next. The man had just left. Hui Yun and the others had just stood still when the waiter in the restaurant walked out to announce the next person to eat in the restaurant. What a coincidence. We don't have to wait anymore. Long Ming smiled at the waiter's announcement. Let's go. Chapter 1073. When they entered the restaurant, the gorgeous decorations and the chaotic noises were very disproportionate. The moment they entered the restaurant, Long Ming was stunned on the spot. His expression was full of disbelief. F***ck. When he came back to his senses, the people who were eating near Long Ming turned their heads and glanced at him. Then, they returned to normal. Why, is there something wrong? At the side, Hui Yun saw that Long Ming's expression was a little abnormal. She frowned and asked warily. In such a big country, Hui Yun did not think that everywhere was a good place. The more this kind of place was, the more cautious they had to be. No, nothing. It's just. As he spoke, he looked at the decorations around him. Maybe it's because I haven't been back for a long time. When I left, this place was not like this. Thinking back, when they left, this heavenly fragrance intoxication's decorations were still simple, plain, and grand. How did it become so vulgar in just a few years? However, I like it. Long Ming liked this kind of decorations very much. Previously, he ate here purely because the food was delicious. But now, it was different. Not only did the decorations become what he liked, but if the dishes were still the same as before, it would be perfect. Let's go. Knowing that Long Ming was fine, Hui Yun relaxed a little. Then, under the guidance of the waiter, Hui Yun and Long Ming came to a table by the window on the second floor. Please wait for a moment. I'll go and order the menu for you too. If you want to drink, you can call me. With that, he planned to leave before Hui Yun and the others could say anything. The waiter's actions completely stunned Hui Yun and Long Ming. Long Ming's face was written with the words, F***ck, are you kidding me? My bad temper. Long Ming was very unhappy with the waiter's attitude. What's wrong? Do you think we don't have status or something? You don't even want us to look at the menu. Just eat whatever you serve, right? Hey, can you do it? We haven't even ordered, and you're already serving us. What's wrong? Are you looking down on us? Or are you afraid that we can't afford to pay you? This time, Long Ming did not restrain his voice. Suddenly, the entire second floor became completely silent. Everyone's eyes were completely focused on Huiyun and Long Ming. Their expressions were as if they were looking at an idiot, and there were even some whose eyes flashed with sympathy. Huiyun was stunned by this, and subconsciously felt that this matter was not as simple as it seemed. Long Ming, you should leave. This matter may not be as simple as you think, Huiyun said. But Long Ming did not dare to disobey Huiyun's words. However, when he was about to say something, he saw the strange gazes of the people around him. He immediately suppressed what he wanted to say. All right. He immediately appeared behind Huiyun. Perhaps it was an instinctive reaction that caused Long Ming to misunderstand Huiyun's words. I didn't make you laugh, I'm telling you to stop talking, I'll say it. Looking at Long Ming behind her, Huiyun was speechless. Huiyun's words caused Long Ming to be stunned. Then, he scratched his head awkwardly and returned to his seat. She glanced at Long Ming. Then, her gaze landed on the waiter. Little brother, the two of us just entered the city and did not understand the rules of eating here, so, if we offended you just now, please forgive us. Madam, you. Huiyun lowered her posture, causing Long Ming to be stunned. Since when did the young master of the Long family need to care about the attitude of a waiter like this? However, when the waiter heard Huiyun's words, his expression softened a little. He nodded in understanding and explained, I see. Perhaps the two of you do not know, but Tianxiang Zui is different now, especially after Tianxiang's master came. The reason why I did not give you a menu and directly placed an order was not because I looked down on the two of you. When he spoke, he emphasized the word look down, as if he was deliberately saying it for Long Ming to hear. It's just that Tianxiang's master's rule is that the customer must eat whatever she cooks. So, I'm very sorry that I did not make it clear before. Hearing this, Huiyun nodded in understanding. As for Long Ming, he was even more surprised. It was not easy for such a rule to continue in the capital. One had to know that one could casually meet relatives of the imperial family or disciples of clans on the streets of the capital. With such a character, to be able to survive until now and not be destroyed by those young masters, one could imagine that Tianxiang's background was not simple. Long Ming was not stupid. When he heard this, he understood that Tianxiang Zui had changed. It seemed that it was no longer the Tianxiang Zui before they left. All right, go and place the order. We'll wait. Huiyun nodded and quieted down. When this scene appeared, the surrounding gazes returned to normal. Long Ming, you have to understand that although you spoke here, you did not return from inside. Everything might not be under your control, so, you have to be careful. Moreover, Tianxiang is not by your side. What if you offend someone you can't afford to offend? What do you think will happen? That's right. He had not returned for many years. He did not know what the capital had become. Thinking of this, Long Ming lowered his head like a child who had done something wrong. All right, you don't have to be like this. Just be more careful next time. Seeing Long Ming's dejected appearance, Huiyun smiled and did not say anything else. The two of them fell silent. Huiyun turned her head to look at the busy streets outside the window. Looking at this place that she should not have any interaction with, her heart was filled with a myriad of thoughts. Oh, young Master Lu is here. At the entrance of Tianxiang Zui, a man walked in with an enchanting figure in his arms. With heavy makeup, one could tell at a glance that she was not from a good family. 5 followers followed behind him. When a waiter saw the man in his group, he hurriedly led the way with a fawning expression. Very sensible. The man's face was filled with a smug smile. Same old place. All right. The waiter replied and led the man to the second floor. Along the way, he nodded and bowed like a lackey. Under the waiter's lead, the man and his group stopped in front of Huiyun and Long Ming. At this moment, when the man saw that his seat was occupied, his face darkened. He turned his head to look at the waiter and coldly said, "What's going on? Since when can people like this touch my seat?" The man's words caused the silent Hui Yun and Long Ming to turn their heads. The moment they saw the man, Long Ming was stunned. Looking at the man, 10,000 curses ran through his mind. Motherf asterisk cur, this Motherf asterisk cur just came back and I already met an old acquaintance. As the former number one hedonistic son of the capital, he naturally recognized the man in front of him. Lu Qianxiang, the second young master of the Lu clan who was on par with the Long clan. He had a fiery temperament in his character, no comment. "Oh. Isn't this Long Ming, young Master Long?" Looking at Long Ming, Lu Qianxiang was also stunned. His face was filled with amusement. "You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.